Okay, aside from the fact someone has an insanely loud air conditioning unit, we will now start the show. So, welcome to episode 10 of Summoning Insight. I'll do the usual. Actually, Locodoco, you want to do the introductions this time? A guest introductions?
Alright, sure. Hi, my name is Loco, and I'm the coolest guest that Summoning Insight has had. And the guy in the red is Montecristo. He's the coach for the shittiest team in A, and he's the caster for best league in the world. And the guy in the black is with the shitty looking beard, the neck beard is Thorin. He knows nothing about league, and he's just like riding his Counter-Strike wagon all the way up to league. Well, he tries to say stuff that sometimes makes sense, but most of the time he just pisses people off and shoots himself in the foot a lot. Welcome to Summoning Insight, everyone.
Okay. As usual, we've
That was
not
a
only...
terrible introduction. It wasn't even witty. It was just cursing.
Yeah, it was. It was just offensive.
It was accurate. It was accurate.
It was fairly factual, Monty. I can't lie. Some of it was correct, yeah. Okay. So we start the show now. So my question was about the OGN quarterfinals, and what did you think of the Najin decision not to just field sword and try and win the game, regardless of playing in the finals? Like, was it an okay decision?
All right, so I'll start. So here's the thing. Najin actually wanted to use the full-on new sword roster, but they couldn't because the ruling was like you can't add new players. So they had players like Pure and Guga from their like the sub for sword and the old, like for the old sword and the shield. The sub players, they played as solo laners in one of the games, I remember, because Pure isn't a mid laner and he played mid. So I mean, that's what happened. I mean, they weren't planning to win like the playoffs. I couldn't imagine like them thinking like, okay, we have a gutted sword, we have entirely gutted sword, and we have shield. Can we beat CJ, Samsung, SKT with like one team? Shield would have to go 2-0 every single fucking time for them to win, you know? So I think Najin, like, they just wanted their new sword members, like, not new sword members, well, the new sword members, like, OQ and who was the jungle?
Hojin.
Hojin to get experience, and that's what they did. Like, they let Hojin and OQ get experience, and they let the shield people warm up for finals.
Yep.
I think they got what they wanted out of it.
I do too. It's not surprising at all. And the main issue was that they couldn't use Leopard and Kuro because they had already played in Masters for different organizations. So it's just under the roster locking. You can't just like randomly switch teams in the middle of a season and be eligible for use in the playoffs or whatever after you've been eliminated, because that would be silly.
What did you actually think of the subs? I mean, the OHQ and Hojin guys seemed okay, right?
Yeah, OQ is really
from
good.
Storm. He was their old AD.
He always
a pick up.
Yeah, he impressed me a lot when I first saw him play in the last season. And Hojin looks a little raw, but that's what you expect when you get a solo queue jungler. Mechanically,
he's good.
He's really good.
It's just about him being like getting experience as a jungler. That's the hardest position to like switch from solo queue into like actual league play, because you have to buy. You start buying wars. You start communicating with your team more. You start being less selfish.
And also, lane swaps are extraordinarily complex at the moment, and you never see that in solo queue. So the fact that he has to learn that entire scenario, and he really messed it up in some of those games, but that's just comes with experience.
Okay, so speaking of the experience of using lane swaps and messing them up, now we will now talk about the OGN finals. So Samsung Blue played against Najin Shield. Me and Monty predicted Shield would win. Who did you think would win beforehand, Loco?
Okay, well, I predicted Shield would win, but like as it came up like closer to the match and watching Shield play or watching Save and Goon play in the Masters, like I changed my mind about like Shield winning. I thought Blue would win, and it's just Blue prep better just in general. But I thought Blue would win at the point when I was at finals and like before the game started.
What were your impressions of the final? The initial impressions, Monty?
It was quite strange. The games were close and they were entertaining, but I think that the Shield's problem and why they lost is they never actually pushed Blue. They never made Blue uncomfortable. So we had the first three games. The weirdest part was the top lane and the lane swaps and the level 1s, because Naj and Shield consistently lost level 1s, got, only one buff at level 1. Samsung Blue was definitely way ahead of the game on that. Also, Shield repeatedly picked Ryze into top Lulu, which is good in lane in a 1v1 setup. But instead of doing that, I think that they should have just lane swapped with a champion that can clear the jungle better than Lulu, force Lulu into the jungle, and then take an advantage that way. Because if you can successfully do that, you'll shut down Lulu and make her never relevant. You can play things still that have better jungle clear, like... there was one game where Jax was open. Game 3 was really weird that Ryze was picked in, and they didn't just lane swap the Jax. So I think that the level 1s and the lack of lane swaps against top Lulu really hurt Shield because they thought they could just counter it with a Ryze pick, which obviously didn't really work out ever for them because they didn't have sufficient engage to even get the Ryze in there. Or Ryze would just be picked off by like the Nocturne TF comps that Samsung Blue was running. And I think that Samsung Blue was definitely the more prepared team for this meta, and Shield didn't look like they knew what the hell they were doing.
Unless I'm mistaken, was this the series where you were saying something along the lines of like, afterwards you thought the reason they'd picked the Lulu like early on or something was to see what the Shield guys would pick and then they could swap?
Okay, because that's why when we saw in the Masters playoffs, when Samsung Blue played Lulu, and then they ran Lulu mid to avoid a lane swap, and maybe once they saw the Ryze pick, then they feel safe picking their mid laner because they know they can get away with the Lulu top. And had they seen a different top lane pick, they may have actually just moved Acorn's Lulu into the mid lane or just kept it on mid and chosen a different top laner. But I think there's some strategic versatility to that, but Naj and Shield never even put them in a situation that made them feel uncomfortable enough to have to use that. Which is sad, actually, because that just shows how poor Naj and Shield's adaptation over the course of the series was.
Okay, so let's stick with this topic at the moment. We're talking about the top lane, Save, and he was one of the guys with a lot of hype coming into this final. Monty himself on the show about a week or two ago said he was the best top laner in Korea. He plays the meta, he does exactly what you want from a top lane, he's amazing, he engages. What happened, Monty? What happened to the best top laner who got kind of shown up by Acorn, right?
I think he picked the wrong champions. I don't think that Ryze was a good pick in this match. And he did get shown up by Acorn. Acorn had a great season, though. I mean, it's not really shameful to be shown up by Acorn, but I think that, again, it all ties into the strategy. And I think that's the misconception right now about top laners in general is because of lane swapping and the way that things are going, top lane's performance is so dependent on what the rest of the team does. Top lane is not an island right now at all. Like, you are at the mercy of your team's decision making, and especially your jungler's decision making in the early game, where you can just completely get screwed through nothing you do on your own. It's not an island where the people just 1v1 all day and whoever gets more CS and maybe gets that amazing solo kill wins. It's who does the jungle follow better? How is your safety and jungling in a lane swap? It's really, really team dependent.
In terms of the champions he picked, though, didn't you think that once he couldn't ever get Shyvana, that seemed to hamper his performance to a degree, right?
No, I think he could have. He had a chance to pick Jax or some other champions that he is more comfortable on. His team, whatever, tunneled on the Ryze pick, and that was odd.
Well, one thing actually, here's a question I want to put to Loco first. So we've now seen two finals. Okay, this one isn't as bad as the Ozone Blaze one, but we've seen two finals where most pros were predicting the other team, who isn't a Samsung team, to win. Mm-hmm. Both times the Samsung team strategically has something ahead of the other team or has something scouted that they've figured out by the final comes. Do you think they just have a better coaching staff or something? What do you think this is? Is it coincidence?
They do have a better coaching staff, but it seemed like for Blaze was really stubborn in their pick and bans. Najin was too, and it's just they had a plan going into it, and when their plan doesn't work, they weren't very flexible in how they adapt with their pick and bans, and a lot of teams aren't. Like, if you go in with a plan, and when your plan doesn't work, maybe you have one more plan, and it's not that well set. The only team that I can really think of that adapts really fucking well in pick and ban is SKT. Any other team other than SKT has a problem adapting in best of 3s and best of 5s.
Well, I want to stick on some of the individual player performances so we can get those out first, and then we can talk more about the overall team.
Oh wait! I want to go into the Fate thing.
Wait a second.
Okay.
What the fuck? When I just loaded this up now, it says something like my. Never mind. That was a weird bug. Okay, continue.
Well, the Fate thing. Do you
Wait there 1 second. What the fuck? It says my laptop isn't plugged in. Alright, wait there 1 second.
This is where we sit and wait.
Hey, Monty.
Yeah, it says the laptop isn't plugged in. So it's gonna fucking go off if this doesn't... Alright, wait there a sec.
Oh, that's your table. I know where that is. I had dinner there once. We ate tomatoes and cheese. What was it? Mozzarella?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you try to give me a zucchini when I remember that. That was such a long time ago, like a year ago maybe?
Yeah, well, I'll have tomatoes that I'm growing again soon.
Right. I need to drop by for more tomatoes and mozzarella and zucchini.
It's great.
Okay, so what were we just talking about that second there? Oh no, actually, I was going to make the point. Let's talk about some of the other individual performances before we get to the overall team strategy. So, we did the top lane there, so go to jungle. A lot of the hype, okay, the way the narrative was done coming into this final, even in the videos, was like, okay, so there's two players who are coming into this final who are going to have a chance to win their second OGN. It's going to be Dade over on Samsung, but then in jungle, it was going to be Watch. And if Watch wins, he'll have won with both the Najin teams. In this final, like, I thought Watch looked really bad, man. He looked like he got exposed as like just like an average OGN jungler. He didn't look like a star in any sense. What did you think, Monty?
Watch has never been, well, I wouldn't say, well, I'm not going to go through his entire pro history, but he's been pretty average overall. I mean, it's not too surprising. He doesn't have the biggest champion pool. He is a little bit hit or miss, and that's it. Like, he's just not the best jungler.
What do you think, Loco?
I think Watts isn't like the superstar carry player. When Watts was at his best was when he had really, really good synergy with McNoon. It's sort of like Bengi and Faker. Like, Bengi was really good, but his biggest strength was his synergy with his mid laner. Same for Watts. Like, his biggest strength was his synergy with McNoon. And, like, right now, like, he's just an inconsistent jungler. His mechanics can be really top-notch. And sometimes it can be really... It's not his mechanics that falter, it's his decision-making that falters. And he has always been known to be like a bit shitty with Smite. Yeah, that's about it for Watts. Like,
but in this final, he looked particularly bad, right? I mean, didn't he do something like pick Lee Sin the first 3 games in a row and just do next to nothing on them? I know he had the one game he did all right on it. The first game he got embarrassed against Nocturne, but he not entirely his fault though. Second game, I think it was the second the one they won, or was it the third?
The second they won.
Second was the one
second
Shield won.
But
third one was really bad.
The first game was the one where Shield got the Baron, but then died.
Oh my
at the
god! Yeah, that dragon.
pit because they split up and just let themselves be engaged on by Nocturne, Kassadin.
Overall, let's think of some of the other positions. Okay, Goon, he was the other star supposedly along with Save. Seemed like he played okay. Didn't do anything crazy, but just okay, yeah.
He played pretty well. He was solid.
Does losing in that fashion, in terms of him as an individual, did it make you think differently of him, Loco?
No.
Is he still as good as he's seen before?
He was... I mean, players always get overhyped when they make finals.
Was he overhyped?
I think he was slightly overhyped. A lot less overhyped than like Save or someone like Watts, but he still had a bit of a hype behind him, and I think Gung delivered. Like, he didn't play bad. He did what he was supposed to, and his team just faltered a lot more than he did.
Okay, so let's quantify that. If you say he was overhyped, like, what sense were you getting? Like, people were thinking he's as good as Faker or something, or people were thinking
I think
his
LeBlanc was so fucking overhyped. I think he's a good and a decent LeBlanc player, but nowhere on the level of someone like Faker or Pawn. Like, his LeBlanc was just way too fucking overhyped. And his Nidalee delivered. I think he played good on Nidalee, other than the fact, like, he lost him the first game completely by splitting up.
Monty, would I be inaccurate in suggesting you are one of the people responsible for the hype?
Sure. I mean, I think the performance was solid, though. So, I mean, I don't understand what you expect, really, from this situation. When the players make the finals, there is a certain amount of deservingness to it.
Sure.
And the previous performances were impressive.
Okay, so taking out team stuff, obviously team stuff had an effect on how people play the positions, etc. He got completely outshined by Dade here, right? I don't think you would have anticipated that.
Dade was the best mid of the season by far.
Yeah.
So.
And you would have said that coming into this final?
Yeah.
Oh,
Me
come
too.
on, man.
Well, okay.
No way.
I actually want to go.
Thorn, I definitely would have said that. I don't think that Goong was the best mid coming into this final.
You would have said that Dade would have just styled on him, wrecked him every game, had like the three of the best games of the four in the series.
Well, I don't perceive that Goong got styled on not in the laning phase. I think Goong got outplayed in the team phase, but the problem with that is that, again, going back to what I talked about earlier, was that the level 1 performances were really not up to par. And Najib Whiteshield basically started every game with a deficit, and with the top laner far behind and having to farm his way there because of the picks, Goong really didn't have a lot of a chance to do anything. The strategy was off. Samsung Blue came into the game much more prepared for this meta.
Okay. The bot lanes?
Wait, I just want to go over about Dade.
Okay, come on.
I want to define this season as like the season of the Nidalee. Like, Nidalee was very, very dominant in the early group stages and in round of 8 and in round of 4. And how players played Nidalee or how players played against Nidalee in mid really defined themselves as players this season. So, like, for example, the main 2 counters to Nidalee are TF and Yasuo. And how well people played these champs against Nidalee really defined like their performance as mid. Like players like Faker, who played Lulu against Nidalee and just did okay. Like that's where I felt like Faker didn't deserve the title of best mid this season, because like he couldn't properly play these champions that counter Nidalee to their full potential, or he just didn't pick them. And someone like Dade, who is really actually bad on Nidalee and just bad on skill shot champs in general, like he really overcame that with Yasuo and TF. His Yasuo play was by far the best, like out of anyone in OGN and in the world. And his TF was a bit unorthodox way of playing TF. His laning was okay. It wasn't good. It was good, but it was nothing amazing. But his ults were fucking crazy, and how he initiated the fights with, like, just some of the fights he initiated on TF were the fights that I was like, really, you're gonna go in on that? And he made it work, and he properly initiated with TF, where other myths would like just play TF to gank, but he properly initiated with TF. And just his team fighting this season, like just across the board, was best out of any mid. So Dade was the best mid this season by far, and I don't think like anyone. I want to hear arguments for like other mids. There is none. Like Dade was the best.
In terms of his like solo performance, he had the most standout performances this season, no doubt. Does not the team element play a component in how good he looks if you compare him to Faker though? I mean, Faker was playing with Bengi in like the worst slump of his career, right?
Oh, of course, and especially when you're playing a champion like Twisted Fate, that it really comes down to team communication. It's not just Dade's TF play, it's the follow-through or the information that he's getting from his lanes. Either the follow-through when he initiates in team fights or the information that he's getting from his laners in order to make that play happen in the first place. So I think that's credit to Samsung Blue's just very, very good teamwork over the course of the season, and I think that's where SK Telecom lacked a little bit. So
we had a discussion. Okay, let me ask you then what Loco essentially suggested there. Is there a case that... Is it clear-cut, Monty, that is the best mid in the world right now and you can't even make a case for anyone else? What do you think?
I think that Faker's performance, even Faker was slumping a little bit. If we look at some of his games during the group stage where he made some really terrible decisions, I think overall in terms of being on point and consistency, Dade was definitely head and shoulders above anybody else this season.
Would you have said that even if Blue had lost the final, both of you?
Yeah.
It depends on how they lost.
Yeah,
But up to the finals, Dade was better.
Okay.
Than
Right.
anyone.
I mean, you look at just his insane TF and Yasuo performances in the playoffs, and you can't really point to like Goong made some good plays on LeBlanc and blind pick, but he didn't have the same number of champions that he was just going berserk with.
So let's stick on the topic of Dade here, because I made this point to Monty the other day after the finals, that in the history of League of Legends, there's never been like a great player who fell off completely and then came back to like as good or a great, even better level. Like, can anyone think of one? I can't think of one.
No, we were sitting around trying to think about this the other day.
Yep.
Dade is the only player who has been at the top, like MVP level, sank down into total dumpster, and then come back up to MVP level again.
Okay, there hasn't been any, but I think there will be 2 new contenders. One of them will be Mad Life, and the other one will be Macnoon.
Macnoon?
Yeah.
What? You're predicting a Macnoon return?
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I've been watching a lot of his stream lately and just talking with him a lot, and I think Macnoon has the potential to be really top class again.
Okay. I mean, the Mad Life one I understand, because it seems like if Mad Life just... Seems like it's his style of play less than his skills that's holding him back, so that's possibly doable. But then again, though, Monty, wouldn't you say the problem with Mad Life is, even if Mad Life got back to being Mad Life, there's now other people who are at that level. It's not like there's the big drop-off, right, from him to the next guy, right?
Right. But basically a return to form for Mad Life, though, with his old consistency, playmaking ability, and vision control would put him up probably around Mata level. And then if he could do that, then I think Frost becomes a very serious contender again, even though they're already improving quite a bit without Mad Life being at that level.
So if we talk about what I just said, this fact that Dade's done this, he's this insane outlier where he went from being the best to nothing to the best again. Now we have to ask the question, how did he do it? Now, the obvious question someone's going to tell you is, will he play for a different team? So maybe the team thing changed things. What would your theory be on how he got back to the top again?
All right, I want to start.
Yeah, okay.
He's a very specific mid. He's very different from other mids. Like, with mid, one of the biggest, like, skills you need is skill shot and the skill shot mind game. And Dade fucking sucks at that, just straight up. Dade's bad on skill shot champs. And so when he was like at his first really good, like when he was really fucking good the first time, it was on stuff like Kha'Zix, stuff like Zed, stuff like Rise, stuff like TF, stuff that assassinates and just roams a lot. And that's when Dade was really good. And when he started slumping, it's when he started playing stuff like Gragas, Ziggs, Nidalee. So there was definitely a meta shift from a lot of these assassination mids to a lot of these skill shot.
His Ziggs was
mids.
good though.
It was okay. I don't think it was like.
It was solid.
It was definitely different from him playing Zed, Kha'Zix, and TF or Rise. It was definitely different from those 4 champs. And when he shifted away from those champs when the meta shifted to poking champs, that definitely had an effect. And when he started rising again, it was when the meta shifted to the Nidalee counters, when Nidalee got really big. So he started playing TF and Yasuo, and that's when he started rising. And also, his mentality definitely changed a lot. When he was really fucking good on Ozone, it was like, okay, I got fucking dumpstered from CJ because I'm not good enough. And this is behind the scenes, but he also got dumpstered from Najin. Save actually beat him out in the tryouts, so he got rejected by 2 teams. And then Ozone gave him a chance, and at that time, Ozone was a really shitter of a team. Like, it was when Mata joined, and before that, like, Ozone just didn't have anything. Like, they never got past round of 8, and he was now like kicked from CJ, rejected from Najin, and on a team that's like just okay and has a bit of potential. Like, he really tried hard, and he really wanted revenge on like just the scene in general for dumpstering on him, and it paid off for him. And then after that, when he made Worlds, like, and they got picked up by Samsung, and I guess they were being a bit lax, you know, like, yay, we won OGN, yay, we made fucking Worlds, and then that's when he dropped again. And then when he got swapped to Blue, like, that probably lit another fire in him. That is someone that's very emotional, and like, he seems like someone motivated by revenge and showing everyone like how good he can be, and like saying fuck you to the people that fucking dumpstered him.
Well, it's also one of those things too where he's talked about how he he did have some conflicts, and his communication with Dandy was not very good, and so that's one of the reasons why they moved him over to Blue, because both Dade and Dandy, I think, were trying to call the shots on what was happening, and their synergy was poor, so they moved him over. And it's also one of the things Dade has said, that he learned a lot, that experience of changing over, I think, tempered him a bit, and he calmed down a bit and was more receptive to that communication rather than just dictating and getting in fights with his jungler. So he said that has made him a better player overall. So it just seems like the swap was a smart idea from the Samsung teams, and it also helped Dade learn how to be more effective in terms of communication with mid-jungle synergy in general, because he wasn't butting heads constantly with Dandy anymore.
If you think about how the bottom lanes in this final played, the blue bottom lane, it's not like they were out of this world, it's super duper amazing, incredible. They just, Deft was like super solid and just was never doing anything wrong. But Zephyr looked like he shouldn't even be in an OGN final. What did you think of him, Loco? You're the AD carry.
He did get caught out a lot.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess they didn't have practice versus Nocturne and versus Kassadin either too. And he was just out of position a lot, and Nocturne and Kassadin are hard champs to position against as an AD player. Zephyr played well below his standards, and that's about it.
Is Samsung Blue the best team in the world?
Whoa.
No.
What makes you say that?
I think it's really hard to say right now who the best team in the world is. Personally, I think Ozone is better, but that's just me.
Loco?
I think Ozone, Samsung, Blue, and SKT are top 3, and it's hard to rank those 3. 1, 2, 3. It's really hard to rank it.
I think saying that SKT is top 3 when we haven't seen them play a Korean team in so long is overreaching. Have you seen them scrimming recently?
They played
Korean
versus
teams?
KT in the 3rd and 4th match.
Yes, but that was KT Bullets when Insec was no longer on the team.
Yeah,
and
KT
Zero is a terrible jungler, dude. I'm sorry. Can you show me a real representation of skill, please?
It's just how I feel about it, and like watching SKT improve, and like being Mandu and Piglet being back on form, Bengi being decent again, and Faker being Faker. I think just that 4 alone is enough to have SKT as 3rd.
Loco, I'm confused here, because you even just said you predicted Shield to win the final, but you didn't even have Shield in your top 3, and you have SKT above them. Like,
after watching Shield play in the final, I don't think they're deserving of top 3.
So so all of us sort of overhyped Shield in some sense, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't the final just make you kind of feel like it's not a coincidence that Shield almost went out against KTB, almost went out against Blaze? Like, even though they looked strong in the games they would win, they also clearly had like some weaknesses, right?
I think what it showed was that, and frankly, I still feel that had it gone to Game 5, that Shield would have won the finals, because when they get their picks, they're a ridiculously good team. If they had gotten LeBlanc and Shyvana, in the same game, but what would Samsung Blue have done? They would have been screwed.
Okay, so I've got 2 people here who consider themselves, I don't know, budding analysts, thinkers of the game. So we're going to go back in time here, guys. Okay, we're back at the beginning of the finals. What should Shield do to win this finals? What picks should they change? What would you do differently? No.
Well, I already said. So
don't give them fucking Kassadin for one. Like, what the fuck? Kassadin is God status in this patch. If you give a team Kassadin, you fully deserve to lose.
Yeah.
Anything else they should do?
But it was the top lane picks, and first off, they just did their level 1 wrong. I mean, they lost. They got 3 buffed by Samsung Blue at level 1 in the first game, like stupidly. And the Rise picks were just not good. They, like I already said at the beginning of this show, exactly what I thought was wrong with Naj and Shield's play.
The thing is, Monty, before we leave that topic, though, I just remembered something. When you actually elevated Save to your official best Korean top laner status, you did so in a discussion about Flame, and you literally used the point like, well, look at Save. He plays the way you're supposed to play. Meanwhile, Flame takes Ignite on Rise, and he tries to like. Isn't that exactly what Save just did in his final?
I don't know why Save did that. It's not like his play was very different. His picks were very different over this series than they were for the rest of the season.
He got frustrated after the first few games, I think.
Do you have a theory as to what he was thinking was going to happen that would work, Loco? Like, what do you think he thought he was going to get out of that might actually turn things around?
No, he thought he was going to get a 1v1 versus Lulu, and that he was just going to like put Lulu in the dumpster with a Rise counter pick, and then he would just carry the game. That's what he thought. It's pretty obvious what he thought.
Yeah. I'm going to outplay Acorn, get farmed, and carry the game. That's what he was thinking. But Acorn didn't he didn't come at him straight. He rotated, and he played with his team. He teleported really well. Acorn and Looper has the best teleports in the game right now. I think that's why Samsung teams do so well. Their top laners know how to rotate.
Going forwards, if you're Shield, after seeing that performance in the final there, I would actually bet money that you will definitely not see Shield in the semi-finals. In fact, you might not even see him not in the final next season. In fact, you might not even see them in the semi-final. Like, they didn't look like they're that strong a team overall. What were your senses? Where does Shield go from here? With this same lineup, assuming they keep it?
They could definitely make round of 4, depending on
who they meet. Depends on brackets.
But round of 4 is definitely a possibility. Round of 8 is almost guaranteed.
Yeah,
sure.
That's about it. Depends who they meet at round of 8.
Yep.
If they don't meet
it also
SKT or Ozone or Blue, they'll make round of 4, I think.
If they stay at their current level, and it depends on the other teams too. Will SK Telecom K come back? Probably, I would say. I agree with Loco that they're better now than they were, but I don't think they're top 3. And will we see the KT Arrows get it together? Because when the KT Arrows are good, they're really good. It's just that they lack consistency. So if they get that consistency going, maybe we'll see them go up there too.
I think that consistency comes with experience and just maturity. And KT Arrows, it's going to take time for them to develop.
I agree, but they have a lot of time.
So which teams right now are better than SKT, Monty?
Like I said, it's hard to tell. I was just accusing Loco of not having a good gauge on them.
Right. Okay.
I think that I will be able to make that call when I see the Masters final.
It's a lot of guesswork. It is a lot of guesswork, but that's how I feel, and that's
fine.
My top 3.
No, I think as an analyst, you're within your rights to say, I just watch this team and I see how smart they are, even when they destroy teams that are bad or have substitutes. I think that's perfectly fine. I just don't feel comfortable making that call on SKTK. If you do, that's cool.
It's just that they're on upswing. The things that I can agree, like the things that I can be 100% set about, and that I have that we can both agree is Ozone and Blue are probably top 1 and 2.
Yeah, and that's why you can analyze teams even in weaker regions about how good they are, because you can see their decision making, and that's why, especially teams that are very dominant. That's why I wasn't sold on OMG's performance, even though they were doing really well in LPL, because if you watch their games and you know what you're looking for and you know what the meta is and what the strategic options are that they're not taking in the game, you can say that this team is not very good.
Agreed.
Okay, so we did the final. Here's a question I have from the final, actually. So Blue looked amazing. You can't complain about them at all. But Shield looking shaky makes me think of a discussion we had last week on the show, which was, okay, when SKT was on top, there was no one who could really challenge them. KTB sort of could challenge them on just an individual matchup level, but SKT were above everyone else, okay. This season, it seemed like, okay, you had at least maybe 4 teams who were all similar level. Like if the brackets had been different for the semi-finals, could have had 2 different finalists, potentially. If we actually look now, is it that there are 2 or 3 teams that are absolutely ultimate, total best in the world teams, or are all the top teams just equal but slightly lower overall than SKT was at their dominant period?
Ozone and Blue are a step above any other team right now.
Yeah. And it's for strategic and game knowledge reasons that they're really just leading the way, not only in terms of champion picks and compositions, but with the way that they're playing lane swaps is by far the best.
Samsung could have had an all Samsung finals if the brackets worked out for them.
Yep.
To stay in Korea for a minute, we then had the Masters, the first match of the semi-final, and it was CJ versus Samsung, and so we got to see these teams again. From what I remember, The first game was the one where Frost lost to
Blue,
that's right. That seemed a bit easy, actually, for Blue. I mean, Frost seemed to be a team on the rise, but they didn't seem like it could do almost anything in that game, right?
Blue just came off a fucking finals win.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a result, I wouldn't have been surprised if they slumped or they didn't practice for it and they just came in casual. And Frost should be hungry and want to beat the team who just
No, they said they weren't going to practice with it. The Samsung teams Samsung Blue took the last couple of days off.
Yeah.
Samsung organization said that.
No, they took a day off, but Hart said in an interview that he just stayed behind and practiced anyway. Good on Hart. Like, I just want to fucking talk about Hart. I don't get why we didn't even fucking talk about Hart. Hart is fucking...
Well, I mean, he wasn't on the team, but okay.
He's like 27, 28.
He wasn't on Blue, so that's maybe why we didn't talk about him local. But we can talk about Hart now. Let's go.
Hart is on Blue.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Oh, it's the one player we didn't talk about. We talked about...
we talked about everybody but Hart. But we should talk about Hart, because Hart is a
We
fun
didn't
guy.
talk about Deft either, okay? But anyways, like, Hart is like fucking old. He was born in 88, you know? Like, he's 4 years older than me. Like, the dude is, like, Asian. And thing is, once you hit, like, 24, 25 as a player, that's when you stop improving. That's when you start thinking about, oh my god, can I do this till I'm, like, 30? Like, how many years do I have left in me? Like, what am I gonna fucking do later in life? Like, that's when you fucking start questioning yourself. And that's when Hart actually started pro gaming, when he was, like, 25. And for, like, a year or two, he's been a shitter. He's been on shitty teams. He really hasn't showed results. And he just kept at it. And he believed himself. And he kept fucking pushing himself. And your mechanics don't really deteriorate that much if you put in the work. Like, it's your passion and it's your need and want to play the game for, like, 14, 12 hours a day. And Hart kept it up. And he's shown, like, with enough dedication, you can be good at when you're fucking 27, 28. He's a fucking... inspiration to anyone over 25 that's doing pro gaming.
So when we say good, well, in the next game of this match, we're going to talk about Mata. So I know Monty thinks Mata is the best support now. Whereabouts do you have Hart? Whereabouts is he stacking up for you when you say he's good? Is he actually the best? Is he comparable to the best? Where?
The way that Hart is good is he roams really well, he positions really well, he stays ahead of the meta, he's innovative.
He doesn't have the same warding and vision control that Mata has, though.
He has better roaming than Mata, and he has better game sense and where he knows he needs to be position-wise.
I agree with that.
So, I mean, they have different strengths.
I mean, here's the thing about the two different bot lanes, though, is that... Okay, so what's funny is, in the rest of the map, they actually have similarities in their teams. So they have the two top laners who are the teleport top laners, they have these two mid laners who are both really, really mechanically beastly, but then you go down to the bot lane, and it seems like they have really different styles. Like, the blue bot lane seems very just solid and play within the limits, and the Ozone bot lane seems like they want to just, like, carry the game every single time. What do you think the differences are between the two bot lanes?
The age, it's the fucking age. Like, when you're young and, like, you're imp, you want to be fucking superstar. You want to fucking carry everything. You want to be, like, attention on me, look at me, bitches. Like, imp is like that.
Are you speaking from experience here, Loco?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And I know him pretty well, and I know his personality, and Deft is a lot more laid back, and Deft is really humble too. And Deft is just like, I really want to do well, I love pro gaming. Okay guys, I'm shy, like, I'm Deft.
Okay.
And it's where Ozone bot lane is like, I'm gonna carry everything, and Mod is like, shut the fuck up, imp, like, stop fucking killing yourself and flashing forward for kills. Like, the blue bot lane is like, yo, Deft, I'm gonna go roam, so you play safe now, don't do anything stupid. Yes, Hart, and then he just farms up and does well in team fights.
Obviously, the blue bot lane was a very solid component for this final, and the way the team worked. Is the blue bot lane as good as the Ozone bot lane?
They're good in different ways, and they fit blue better. It's hard to compare. You can't just compare them straight, Thorin. They do different things.
Sure.
No, all he's asking is for a point of comparison, Loco, which is what spurs the conversation.
Here's the thing, Loco. If we took the blue bot lane and we put that in a different team, the Ozone bot lane could fit in most teams and still be similarly good, right?
Blue bot lane fits. If blue bot lane is more plug and play, Ozone bot lane.
Okay, so explain why then.
Because Blue's bot lane is much more focused about playing with the rest of the team and team fighting. Whereas Ozone's bot lane, Imp just wants to make the picks with like Twitch and Vayne and play really aggressively. And also they like to just repeatedly all in bottom lane. Like Ozone's bot lane is the most likely lane to just randomly all in you. So it's a much more aggressive style of laning. And then afterwards, they like to operate kind of semi-autonomously to wander around the map and make plays, right? Whereas Blue is much more about being at the right place at the right time with the rest of Blue's team in order to use 5-man to go push an objective or have a team fight.
Speaking about using Twitch, actually, wasn't there a game in the final where Zephyr tried to use Twitch and just did like absolutely nothing on him? Like,
well, Def is not a very good Twitch player either. Like, Def didn't do anything the game he played Twitch either.
But this is a topic I want to bring up while we have Loco here. Because if you watched All Stars, it looked like, wow, Twitch is like it's the OP champion for AD carry. If you know what you're doing here, you just like open the whole game up, you get the fights initiated, you do insane damage. And then in this final, it just seemed fairly humdrum, you know, and a bit like how you were saying before, Nidalee was like the carry shit early on, and then this final, it wasn't even that much of a factor. What do you think about Twitch right now? Locodoco.
Twitch is good, but people know how to play against them now, and there's a lot less assassination potential. The reason why Twitch looks so good at All-Stars is people weren't as used to playing versus him, and they didn't prep versus him that much, and like now people are used to it. No one gets assassinated by Twitch anymore. So that factor of Twitch is completely gone. And when you take away that factor, Twitch is just a late game carry with a mediocre laning. And then you can just play Kog'Maw in that spot. Kog'Maw has slightly better laning than Twitch. He can farm a lot safer. And his teamfight is just as good as Twitch, if not better.
And what's great about Twitch, too, is that he gives you vision control because you can safely check brushes and get eyes on people around objectives. So he makes it a lot safer to contest and control objectives.
Kog does the same with his ultimate.
No, I just said that.
My bad. I thought you meant Twitch. I thought you were talking about face checking with Invis.
No. You don't want to face check with Invis anyway because you never know where the pink word is, right? That's dumb. But yeah, with Kog'Maw, he's very safe.
Agreed. I think Kog is better or on the same level as Twitch. I want to say slightly better now.
So, a topic that is... Oh, no, before... Actually, we forgot that. The second game of the Masters game was a really good game. Did you see this one, Loco?
Wait, go again?
The second game of CJ Blaze versus Samsung Ozone. Did you see that one? In the Masters? It was like
I
2
saw
days
all
ago.
the Masters. I saw all the Masters.
So this was the game where Flame picked Aurelia, and then he accidentally got the red buff, and then
I just see that one.
then actually won lane against, who was it? Lulu?
Jax,
that's right. Okay, so he won lane with the red buff. What did you think about that, first of all, getting the red buff and then out CSing, and what do you think?
That was accidental, by the way.
Yeah.
It
worked, though.
It was fucking crazy. It was like...
he did so well.
It was like 10 people at red, like, contesting. That was, like, one of the best, like, level 1 contests ever. He got it, and he just fucked over Looper. He bent him over backwards, and he fucked him over. And it's a lot different. It's the Korean style of Aurelia that we saw. Because when you see, like, most Aurelias I've seen nowadays are from Alliance, because I've been working with them and, like, just EU scene with Thoaz and Wicked. And they have this crazy build where you get Sheen, and then you get Berserkers, and then you get the speed upgrade on it.
Alacrity, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're so fucking squishy, and all you're trying to do is like just catch up to people and pick them off. Like, it's not that great in the team fight. It's actually terrible in the team fight, and it's sort of okay like split pushing. And Flame went the traditional Korean build where you just get Dorians to win lane, and then you straight rush Trinity, and then you have a mid game burst or mid game spike in power. And Flame did everything he could. Like, literally, Flame played really
He played crazy good that game because in spite of the fact that he knew that he had to do something with that red buff, and he was in a Jax Aurelia matchup. That is a trash matchup for Aurelia. And the fact that he won that hard, yeah, he had red buff, but he was able to get just a giant advantage. Just crazy good game.
When you have red buff, it doesn't fucking matter. It could be
true.
The matchup just flips on his head, and he didn't have any jungle pressure or whatsoever because things were real. Like they were on bottom, like they were laning bot because of the lane swap, like, and all the focus was on top and mid. So like he could do whatever the fuck he wanted, and Flame is so fucking good with wave control. That's the one aspect of Flame that gets downplayed a lot. Why Flame is so fucking good and why he gets those 100 CS leads on other people. It's his fucking wave control. He can freeze lane indefinitely if he wanted. It's something a lot of professional top laners can't do. Freezing lane indefinitely. It's hard, and there's a bit of like technique to it. And a lot of the times they let the wave, other people let the wave build up, and but Flame does it correctly. Flame just does it. I'm not going to go in detail about how you do it because I realize like a lot of top laners actually don't know how to freeze lane indefinitely. But Flame does it right, and Flame is a fuck. That's one aspect of Flame that gets downplayed a lot.
Well, it's nice to hear you say something nice about the man after
I
your last
fucking love
appearance
Flame.
on the. Well,
Dude.
that's what I'm going to get into now, my friend.
We spent majority of finals,
yeah.
like I spent majority of finals, like talking.
Okay,
to
I'm going to set this up. So, last time Locodoco appeared on this show, he basically, you would think that like Flame killed Loco's father like 10 years ago in a dojo and then fled with like the family emblems or something. The way he was just going in on this guy. Like, even if he was talking about something he's good at, he was like, he wants to carry, he's so stubborn and ambitious as well. Meanwhile, you told me at the finals, like you sat with Flame, you even discussed what you talked about on this show, bizarrely, because like the Koreans get some of the Korean comments get translated onto Inven. What were his general perceptions of what you talked about? What was the conversation like, Loco?
Well, okay, I don't want to go too in depth about the conversation.
Okay, so you shredded,
like,
yeah, okay.
Because I mean, like, you know, like.
It was a lot of you apologizing, saying, "Yes, Lord Flame, I want to be relevant in this game still."
I will sacrifice 3 sheep, 3 goats.
Yeah. Next time I go on, honest.
Almighty glory.
Next time I go on, I'll talk good about you, honest.
It's more of the fact, like, Flame told that stuff because we're friends, and, like, it's not something he wanted me to talk publicly about. But I do want to say, like, I was very biased because a lot of the information I had about Blaze were from Lust and Helios, and it was very one-sided story. It was very he said, she said, and, like, I only had one side of the story. After hearing Flame's side, I do want to tone back on some of the stuff I said, and I just want to publicly say I am sorry to Flame, and he is very cute in real life. That's it.
Call him Lord Flame, please.
No, fuck you.
That would be hilarious.
He has a Busan accent, and he's very, like, whenever you talk to him, like, because a lot of people don't talk to him, but he has a Busan accent, and he's so fucking passionate about the game, and, like, he shouts and he curses a lot, and, like, he's very much Froggen.
Okay,
talking to Flame, he reminded me a lot of Froggen.
So here's something funny, actually, is that something Monty was saying yesterday is that a lot of people in the West make the assumption that because all the fangirls like Flame, that he's considered like the pretty boy, like he's like a watch, but he's supposed to be like the manly guy, right? That you
no, he's a pretty boy. He's definitely a pretty boy.
Okay, you think that's so? Same Monty?
I think that he has more masculine features. He's very like angular. He's not like Watch. Watch is definitely a pretty boy.
Flame is such a pretty boy too. But I don't get why we're talking about this. But like he's from Busan, and like Busan guys are supposed to be like manly, and they're supposed to be more like buff and like a bit stupider.
Okay, so that's something interesting. You said there, like working with Alliance and how you saw similarities between Flame and Froggen. Well, you were saying before, like Flame is very stubborn and has his own idea about how to play. That's what people always say about Froggen too, right?
Yeah, but if you can back it up with your skills, and if you're not an asshole about it, and if the team depends on you because they need to, then it's not being greedy. It's the only way the team can win, you know? Like, if Tabs was, like, fucking, like, God status, and if, like, Wicked was fucking Flame status, then maybe how Alliance play should be different. But on Alliance, Froggen, like, just in general, I think Froggen's one of the best Western mids, and I think them, like, pushing and giving a lot of resource to Froggen is definitely how they should play, because if you have someone like Froggen and Flame on your team, you play towards them and you make them superstars and you let them carry because it's the most consistent way to win.
Isn't that the exact opposite of what you said on the last show, dude? You were like, he wants to carry. You should let the bot lane carry. Emperor will carry the game. Trust in your jungler. I want to hold my ground on some of that. On some of that. If your bot lane is winning and if your bot lane does have the potential to carry, as a top laner, you shouldn't be calling your jungler to you, which Flame did do and which I thought was fucking bad. Okay.
That I don't fucking buzz about. I think that is definitely bad. He needs to tone that down a bit, but other than that, like, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so anyway, Blaze actually played Ozone in this game, and it was a great game, right? Overall, very exciting game. Hard to tell until the final fights. I mean, really, the key moment wasn't even the final fight. It was when Flame stayed in the lower side brush of the river, and he didn't know they were all going to collapse on him, and he just got caught completely. Thoughts?
Well, by caught, you mean he was caught by like a Flash Nami ult, insane like
Sure.
chain CC. It took a lot to catch
But
him.
I mean, that turned the game, though. That was like the beginning of the end for Blaze, basically. They were keeping pace until then.
Yeah. And also, it was the fact that his team like stood there and got followed up on in a really ridiculous way by Evelyn ults. Had he just died, I don't think it would have been a problem. But his team tried to save him.
So the hero of this game was Mata. Mata's Nami was like god tier status in this game.
It was pretty good.
You remember the key play at bottom lane when it was 2v2 and the Blaze guys dove in on the tower and they were gonna kill Imp, but then that he did like a delayed tidal wave and then like hit a skill shot as well along this something like that to actually get the kill, right? You remember?
Yep.
Yeah, he just got
And
a
he
really
used
good long-range
exhaust,
tidal wave.
long range tidal wave, hit the bubble, and used the exhaust. It was just his decision making, got his heal off. It was nearly flawless play in that situation.
Imp actually could have lived if he didn't go for one more auto, and like, whatever. It's just something I noticed right there. No, if he kept circling tower instead of trying to get the auto in because he wanted to kill, he would have led, and he
But
still
he
would
ended
have done
up
the
getting
kill.
both kills anyway, so.
Because Mata was nice and he didn't last hit. What a good support. He literally could have just fucking last hitted it if he wanted to.
So actually, this is something we talked about last week, which was I made the point last week to Mithy that I love the fact that Nami is back in the meta, because you actually can see on Nami the difference between Korean level supports and European and Western supports, because the Korean level supports, all the god tier guys nearly play Nami and they're incredible and they're just the finesse and
You can already see
survive. But you look at the Western guys and dude, it's hard to find a Western
No,
support.
no,
who's good
no.
on Nami.
You could already see it on Thresh. You know, Koreans were first picking banning Thresh.
Okay.
Like NA and EU, that doesn't happen. You don't fucking ban Thresh unless like you wanted to play something like Nami or Leona. But in Korea, you ban Thresh just for the fact that if you give someone like Mad Life, someone like Mata, someone like Pumandu Thresh, someone like Heart Thresh, the game just fucking flips. There's so much carry potential and there's so much playmaking potential on Thresh, and these players are good enough where you give them Thresh, they will consistently win the game by themselves, and that's why you fucking ban Thresh. So that's something that was very different that I noticed, because I've been working with the NA team and I've been working with Alliance. In pick and bans, like, I can't just tell them, like, okay, this is what the Koreans are doing. Like, they're first picking Thresh. If you have Thresh open, you should just pick it. Because, to be completely frank, there are very few supports in NA and EU that can play Thresh at, like, that level where the OGN supports are doing it. And if you can, then you should be first picking it. But people aren't. So, like, the pick and bans need to change for NA and EU.
What do you think the difference is then? Is it something about how people do the skill shots? Is it lack of mechanical skill, or do they not have the same game sense? What do you think the one, if you had to identify it, is there some key area where you see like that's what the West is lacking in the supports?
It's the skill shot accuracy of the hook. It's just people like Mondu and Mad Life. It's just retardedly insane. It's just too
Gorilla?
fucking good. Gorilla too. That's one
Yeah.
of his champs he's really comfortable on and good on. And yeah, it's just how well and how consistently they hit their hook. And it's also the communication with their jungler. It's something Korean supports do really well, the support and jungle synergy. With Thresh, you have this gank with Flash E and you lantern backwards, and that potential of a gank is so fucking scary. Like, you cannot be in range of Thresh's Flash and E if the jungler doesn't show on map, and if that gank is properly done, it's very hard to avoid. Because you have to flash out of the Thresh Flash Flay. If you get hit by the Flay, then you're dead. That's about it.
So one of the things I wanted to ask about Mata is I've noticed with Mata, it always goes like this. Whenever Ozone's having a good season or he has a really good game, everyone says, right, he's the best. I mean, since Mad Life, everyone says Mata is God, Mata is the best player. But then he also seems like he's not of all the godlike players, he's not as consistent, right?
Mata's god strength comes from his vision and
His shot calling.
His shot calling too. His laning is actually not as good as someone like someone like Mandu. Mandu is like he's really good in lane, and Mata is okay in lane, and he has like he surprises people with his mechanics sometimes. But just overall, wouldn't say Mata's laning is his strength.
What do you think, Monty? I know you like this topic. I'm going to get a Pepsi out of the fridge, so talk for like 1 minute.
Yeah, I think Mata, I agree with Loco, but I think that his aggression surprises people because most bot lanes in Korea do not play with that level of aggression. So I think he can hide some of his weaknesses just by going ham.
And he also has Imp, they love going ham. These two,
yeah,
they're so risky sometimes. Some of the plays they pull off, like one mistake, one skill shot they don't dodge, one flash they don't use properly to dodge a skill shot, and then they would get double killed. But because they consistently do it, they always have that pressure. Like if you play against someone like Mata and Imp, then you're always scared. Oh my god, these idiots might just all in me on this CS. Like, so you play differently than you play against other bot lanes. But yeah, I agree. It's their all-in potential. It's too good.
When I mentioned my critique there, I wasn't critiquing like there's no good Western support. I was saying that there's specific champions where you just see like there's a big difference here. Like no one's playing at the same level the Koreans are. Who are the Western supports now that Xpecial's exited TSM, and now that we've got like Gambit spot lane went to shit? Who's actually good at support in the West, Loco?
Afro.
Yep.
I think Afro and Lemon are the top two supports in NA. I think Xpecial definitely dropped off, and him not laning with Turtle is also a factor. His new AD's cop. Afro and Lemon both have Sneaky and Double, who are top tier ADs.
When you say that though, I actually, when I watched TSM, I thought Wild Turtle looked worse for not having Xpecial too.
Yep. Turtle looks worse, and Turtle's just shaky, and like he gets caught out sometime, but his mechanics and what he does in team fights are fine, but he just tends to get caught out now. Maybe it was Xpecial like keeping him in check, or I don't know. I think Glebe is up and coming though. Like I think end of the split it should be like 3-way tie, or Glebe will definitely catch up to Lemon and Afro. It's just a matter of how much Afro and Lemon can improve from there. I don't think Lemon's going to improve mechanically. If Lemon is to improve, he has to improve like hard. It has to be with positioning and just like vision control.
Monty, he just said that Glebe Garbner is going to catch up to Afro by the end of the split. I need your opinion, please, sir.
I disagree.
I think Glebe will catch up to Afro and Lemon. Like just in terms, like at the end of the split, we're going to talk about supports again. Or whatever, like whoever
you just invited yourself
with.
On the show again? Okay, cheers.
No, okay. At the end of the split, well, okay, I want to, whatever, like, at the
it's
end
okay,
of the
Loki,
split.
you're welcome. You just don't get so flustered.
Thank you, Thorin. Anyways, like, Afro and Lemon, they're the top two right now, but at the end of the split, when we talk supports, it's going to be Afro, Lemon, and Glebe. And maybe Xpecial.
Okay, maybe when you talk about them. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong.
I've been pretty good with my predictions about supports getting better, or like just I've been pretty good with my predictions. My predictions have been pretty spot on.
But I mean, Glebe doesn't have you there because part of being a good support, as we know in Korea, is having you there to lane, and then once they kick you out, they get good. So, are you just gonna go on to TSM so we can make sure that Glebe gets good by the end of the split? Can you
maybe I'll coach TSM just to spite you. I'm gonna help TSM just to spite you.
In that case, though, that will be the ultimate test.
Just to spite me.
Yeah.
No. You are spiting TSM. Please go coach.
Monty, just think about it.
Why am I spiting TSM?
You know this.
By coaching?
That is the best. That is the best idea.
You know this beautiful myth, Monty, that exists that Locodoco is the support trainer. He takes the OK
it's
support,
not a
and he makes
myth.
them go.
It's
Listen,
not a myth. It's
we'll
the
find
truth.
out. You know,
It's the goddamn truth.
If you go to TSM, we'll soon find out.
Right.
Also, yeah, that's the implication that your presence will actually help a team. That's a big assumption we're making right there.
No pressure,
It's not an
Glebe. No
assumption.
pressure.
It's a goddamn. It's a fucking gospel truth. It's the gospel.
So
truth.
basically, Glebe, if Loco happens to join TSM, like you can ruin this guy's career. So no pressure though, bro. Just keep playing.
Any support I worked with has come out better. Mata, Not Life, Mafa.
To be fair, they have to become godlike supports if they want to get through that laning phase. They're like,
exactly.
Listen, I've got to play 1v2.
You are the weights, right? You're the
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Now I understand, Monty. What happens is
right now,
it's like in Naruto where that guy. They're like rotten late. He's literally telling us to 1v1 in Monty. I think we've won this now. Like,
1v1 no, I don't think so. Final destination.
Local tilt is so brutal, dude. That was the best analogy ever. Loco is the weights.
When
they take the weights off, they're just like, oh my god, I'm ascending to... And then they get a good AD, they're like, this is the easiest shit ever. No, I actually like you, Loco. I think you're a very good player. Okay, anyway, next topic. Okay, this will be a very brief topic, but we have to mention it because the aim of this show, for anyone who's never watched like the first ones where I explained it, is I wanted to cover all the regions and all the key things that happen, okay? Because if you watch LCS, they're not going to tell you certain things that happened in other regions. Well, we're not going to talk that much, but the LPL finals just happened, and it was Invictus Gaming, who shockingly beat OMG in the semis, versus EDG, that super team built around Name, and he's in theory the best player, supposedly.
God, can we stop using the term super team until I don't like the term.
No, I agree. But
it's just stupid. It's an overhyped word.
Did you watch the final at all, Loco? No. Okay, so Monty, what did you think of this final where EDG? It seemed like they won fairly handedly.
Oh, yeah, they just crushed them. I mean, IG is that team that you never know which IG you're going to get, the good one or the terrible one, and the terrible one showed up to the finals. And not only that, but Name, I mean, what a monster. He was just, the last game where Name was playing on Lucian, and he was playing against Kog'Maw, and he just like, no problem, I'll just kill Kid 4 times in the laning phase and just hard carry this game. Name is just so good.
I saw an interview
those games were not competitive. No. Like, at all.
I saw an interview recently where Doublelift was asked to rank, rank himself and then his bot lane and something else, right? And so he put like best for everything, like we're just the best at everything. After watching that final, Name's better than Doublelift at the moment, right? Name's the best AD carry probably, right?
Monty, yes. Put a hand on your heart and the other hand on the Bible before you answer this question.
No, Name is I think he's the best AD carry in the world.
Okay.
Have you seen Name play much, Locodoco?
Nope. I've seen some of his highlights, and there was one LPL game I watched because people told me to watch it, and he was really good in it. But the thing is, like, everyone has these, like, if you watch one game from one player, sure, you can almost convince anyone that player is the best player.
No.
But it's different with him, though, because the key thing with him is he played for a team that wasn't even that good and made them the champions of LPL. So, like, everyone says, like, he was, like, the hard carry, AD carry, you know, like, the beast every game. What
happened to Uzi, by the way? Does he still play mid? Like, where is he now?
He just went back to... I think he went back to AD carry at Royal. Actually, supposedly, by the way, here's a detail people don't know. Because there was a video on Reddit now. It should still be on the front page. Which is very interesting, and it tells you how to pronounce all the names of the Chinese players. And they don't mention it in that video, but apparently you're not even supposed to call him Uzi. Like, he's not named after the gun. You're supposed to say, like, Uzi or something. So that's just, like, a random piece of trivia. But also, it does tell you how to pronounce all the names of the players, because apparently you're not supposed to say, like, Zhao Wei Zhao. It's supposed to be, like, Sao Wei Sao or something. Yeah. It's quite interesting, because when you read them, they make sense, where some of them, we've been saying them all wrong, basically. Like, it's like Shi Yang, and it's not Ji Yang. Yeah.
It's Shi Yang. And it's also Sun and not San for OMG.
I quite liked the Reddit joke where someone said Shi Young. I knew there was something fucked up about that guy. But I didn't want to bring that up to you, Loco. I just thought it was incidental. It wasn't any kind of implication to you.
What? Shi Young?
Shi Young, yeah. What?
Shi Young. Oh, yeah. Okay. Fuck you. Wow.
The delayed reaction. He's like, you saw him figure it out in his head, like, Shi Young. She is young. A girl that's young. I have sex with girls that are you implying something, Thorin? Like,
whoa!
That was purely fictional. There, I mythologized Loco's life. That's not how he is in real life.
I like Nunath. Nunath. Okay. Fuck you.
He likes Nunath. Flame is an excellent player.
Lord Flame.
Lord Flame, yeah, as we will now always refer to him on this show. Okay, so I said the LPL portion would be fairly brief. Though actually, I have to ask Monty one question since he watched that final. You were super critical of OMG, and the conceit of OMG at All Stars was that OMG was by far the best Chinese team. Now, EDG is just one LPL. If EDG got to play against top competition from other regions, how do you think they'd stack up? What's your sense of it?
EDG is very reliant, I think, on getting ahead in the laning phase, which they're good at, but they're still not strategically that good. I think that still paired up against a top 8 Korean team, they're probably not going to do great.
When you watched All Stars, because we couldn't get your opinion on it at the time, Loco, Monty went super hard on OMG. Like, even though they beat Cloud9, he thought that could have gone the other way, and he thought they weren't even close to SKT. What did you think of the Chinese?
I think their mid laner, he's only good on Syndra. Like he was very like it was very different how he played on Syndra and how he played on other shit. Thon really stepped it up. Like watching Thon at Worlds, I was like, because I only watch Chinese team when it's at international events. I don't go out of my way to watch Chinese games. But watching Thon definitely stepped it up, and Xiang.
Yeah, she's young, you know. You just gotta accept that eventually, Loco.
Yeah.
Get over it. Anyway, can you continue your fight, please? Before you got sidetracked by how young she was.
Anyway, the OMG mid laner.
Kind of a metaphor for your career.
The OMG mid.
Hilarious.
I don't know how I do this show.
Okay, serious mode on again. Continue, please.
I could be meeting older girls right now. Anyways, like, they were definitely behind on the meta. Like they used Pantheon. Like just by that, like if you're using Pantheon jungle, you're just going all in, and you're expecting your lanes to win, and you're expecting to gank and just snowball those lanes and win just by constantly ganking. Like you're just trying to win as a Chinese team, and they just play behind the meta. That's how I feel like. I always feel that way when I watch Chinese teams. They're behind the meta. That's about it.
You're known to be a fan of AD carries. Do you think now that the Koreans... Okay, I've always said the weird thing about Korea is they eventually did get to the level where it never was that another region had better players than that. They just had good players at all the positions, okay? Does China still have some sort of an advantage in ADs, do you think?
Well, I need to watch Name more to say that, but I think Deft is the best AD in the world right now.
Yeah.
Just how fucking good he is in teamfights and how important Kog'Maw and Twitch right now are to the meta. It doesn't matter how good you are in lane. If you can play Kog'Maw and Deft, Name would need to be able to play Kog'Maw and Twitch like Deft in teamfights and also be better than Deft in lane. Because I really think that's not possible. He might be better than Deft in lane, but just Deft is so fucking good in teamfights. It's hard to be better than Deft just from that aspect. His teamfight is the best. It's better than anyone by a complete level. It's gonna take people months to catch up to Deft in team fights.
So we've done Korea, we've done China. Now let's get to the regions everyone really cares about. I actually, my interest in the show has just gone down right now, but we're going to talk about LCSNA now, which a lot of people apparently care about. Something to do with America or something. So the first team I actually want to talk about is, oh boy, it's LMQ, Monty's favorite team in North America. What do you think of our new Chinese overlords going 4-0 with like the 7th best team from China, Monty?
I think they're consistent in terms of their performance, but I think that this is not indicative of their overall placing. I would be surprised if they ended up at first place by the end. They're still strategically weak, and especially the game that CLG played against them, they were in a massive deficit, and CLG just overreached and did a very stupid Baron, and that's why they allowed LMQ to come back into that game. But in terms of their early gameplay, their level 1s, they're not awesome, and they're going to lose to lane swaps.
Okay, I've got a point I need to get in on Monty here before I have to go in now before I forget the full point, and so it goes like this. When Monty made that point a while ago, which I agreed with, which is if you took the top 3 NA teams and the top 3 EU teams, then the top 3 NA had better macro strategy. Now, on the surface, that is absolutely right, but I've realised by watching these games of CLG and the split so far, I know why that doesn't 100% hold true, and actually why I'm worried for CLG. Because the reason why Cloud9 are way better macro strategy-wise is because all their people who design the macro strategy and make the decisions are inside the server. And so even if something goes wrong in a game, they can actually make a call in the game correctly, or they can fix a mistake in the game. Whereas in CLG, the guy who's leading a lot of the macro strategy is sat on this call now in Korea, and he just tells them before the game what to do, and if it goes to shit in the game, then...
No, that's not even true. That's not even a representation of CLG.
Well, then why would CLG make that call to have a team fight around Baron when they were leading, and they could have split push the whole game?
Yeah, why would they do that?
No, I'm asking you. You're telling me that you have these people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I need the comms to answer that question. I don't have the comms.
You know what League needs? It's like fucking Jeopardy. Like you pause, and I would like to call a friend, and then they call Monty, and then they ask what they need to do.
Yeah, that's what they need. No, that's my point. Monty's sort of like that guy. Okay, here's what it's like, okay. it's like it's like Cloud9 is a bunch of like amazingly skilled fencers who all know like the strategy and they're all incredibly skilled. Monty's guys are like in like fucking Braveheart or something where they have all those like guys with like clubs. They're all just waiting in a line and they're just like, hold, and he has to say like when to run at the right time. And if one breaks the line, it's fucked completely. You can't get them back together after that. They're just gonna these hordes will just go out and fight. Is this not? I mean, this must be something that I'm being a bit facetious there, but you can see kind of the point I'm making, right, Monty? Sometimes CLG slip back into the derp mode, right?
Well, I would argue that by the end of last season, we really weren't slipping back into the derp mode. We were slipping into the tilt mode in the playoffs, but if you look at the consistency of CLG after we got Dexter, I mean, we only pretty much lost to Cloud9 and TSM.
I think you had like a 75% win rate, yeah.
Right, and we only lost to Cloud9 and TSM. Like, we were not losing to teams that were ranked lower than us. And it's a matter of the fact that we were the last team to start scrimming again after All-Stars. And it was obvious, like, everybody on the team, in terms of what we were talking about expectations before the split, said this first week is going to be rough. We had a new player, new style of top laner.
Oh, there's something I wanted to ask you, Monty.
Let's go.
All right, why is Seraph playing fucking Irelia versus Shyvana in all these games?
Well, we're hoping for a 1v1, but the lane
even with the 1v1, you'd be comfortable with him 1v1ing Shyvana as Irelia?
I'm comfortable with it, and he's comfortable with it. I don't think it's terrible. It's not the greatest matchup ever, but you have to have something to.
I've seen you guys purposely pick into that matchup.
Yep.
Could we have some insight into that, please?
Well, it was his champion pool. It was his champion pool at the time. We're changing some of his champion picks.
Okay, so Seraph's still being broken down and rebuilt in Monty's image. I understand. So actually, Seraph's a good topic because he's been the hot topic coming into the league. Okay. Yeah, I've actually never seen a player come into the league and have this much scrutiny in NA. Usually people are very forgiving. Like, they actually want the player to be good, and it's not until they've done bad a few times in a row that they'll be like, no, he's not good. Especially if it's a top team like a TSM, CLG. It seems like people have almost been like hoping he'd do badly in the first game so they could be, see, it was the wrong decision. Like, what was your sense for how his initial debut's been?
I mean, part of why Seraph is behind is because of the current top lane meta. So there's several things. Okay. He was playing solo queue. Again, CLG was the last team to start scrimming, and we had to, the lane swaps and scrims are going much better now than they were previously. But he was a player who had been not on a pro team for a few months, so he had to learn the top lane meta again. And we had to figure it out as well because a lot has changed about the way that lane swaps are played out. So we really had to get ourselves comfortable with that again. And we were making some mistakes regarding that. And we're behind some of the other teams. And not only that, so part of the reason why he would get behind is because the decision-making from CLG put him behind, which is one of the things that is very difficult about being a top laner right now, is that if your jungler doesn't path with you properly, if you have the lane swap and you don't get the read with the right wards at level 1, then it's very easy to fall behind if you have kind of a bad teleport and get dove, or there's so many factors in this. So that situation caused him to get behind. Now, did he still group too much? Did he use teleport poorly after that? Yes. Like, he didn't make the best decisions in that case. But he was not set up for success in the first place. And also some of the team calls that prevented him, like the Baron call at LMQ, when he was ahead and he was doing well. The fact that there was the Baron call, so we didn't keep split pushing and actually use him to the fullest potential after he got, like, he was like 2-0 and 2 on Jax in the early game, that's the team decision. So, I would say that Seraph's performance is a little from column A, that the team was not making good decisions, a little from column B, that we didn't have enough time to work on his champion pool to get the right kind of picks in those games. And then also he made some questionable decisions as well. But he's, like, right now in scrims, we're doing a lot better. So I think that over the course of the season, people will see Seraph develop into a very solid top laner. But nobody had the expectation that he was just going to show up, and nobody on the team.
The fans definitely had that expectation.
I don't know what to tell you, because everybody, myself, everybody else was sitting here saying, he needs work.
I mean, if Seraph came in, like, if you guys lied to everyone and said, like, we picked up this amateur top laner from MA, like, he's a solo queue player, and Seraph played exactly like how he played, everyone would be like, oh, this guy has potential, and he has, like, a lot of room to grow, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, oh, like, it just got fucking blown out of proportion.
Of course, I said this on the show last week. He out of our available options for top laner, we felt that he was the best one. It's a long-term investment. We're getting him English tutors, blah, 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 blah. This is something where I think it's just from my experience with Seraph, I was impressed in the one game that he had. I watched him play solo queue. I know what the problems are, but he is also an insanely driven and dedicated player, and that he is doing everything in his power to become a better player. He's got the mechanics to back it up. It's just he needs that knowledge and to get the synergy with the rest of the team. And that will come with time. I said that last week, and everybody is still like flipping their shit. And also, it's the scrutiny under which he's being judged. It seems like he's being judged on a different rubric than every other player that's come into the league.
I mean, let's face it. I get the sense that, unfortunately, it's his nationality. People want this to be like a case of like, see, these Koreans aren't like.
Yeah, it's like, you know? Why he no play like Flame? What the fuck? It's basically that. The fuck, Korean top laner? What the fuck? This was supposed to be Lord Flame Jr.
Lord Flame Jr. That's Seraph's new nickname right there. Except he plays with teleport, so
I also want to say the same thing for Glebe. Watching Glebe play, and I watched almost all of the NALCS games, and I kept a close eye on Glebe because I was very interested to see, like, oh, Reggie got this replacement for X Special. How is this new kid gonna do? I actually watched.
There was the same expectation there. Nobody was like, oh yeah, Glebe's gonna come in and dumpster the league.
Well, no, but they had expectations. Like, they wanted to shit on solo mid, and they wanted to tell Reggie, you fucked up by kicking X Special. But I honestly felt like Glebe played pretty decent.
Well, there's no way to have this. Jury's still out, right?
Yeah, jury's still out for both Seraph.
Yeah,
every new team,
decision, right? And
for Dignitas, for LMQ, for solo mid, and for everyone.
It's the first week of the season, and that it really doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah,
people are like flipping their shit about LMQ and Dignitas, and like these are not teams that are going to be at the top, I don't think, when the season is all set.
So that's what we're going to get to now. Yeah, that's what we're going to get to now. Because the next topic is Dignitas, Monty's second favorite team in this region,
behind solo mid, right?
Well, no, behind LMQ.
For Monty, and
behind LMQ. It goes. Listen, Monty's teams go LMQ, Dignitas, solo mid, then CLB.
Complexity.
Complexity, yeah, sure. So Dignitas, this team, this inferior team that was just made up of people, bad shot calling. Frankly, I've heard that the players don't even understand the game strategically. I read this on Twitter somewhere, very briefly though. I sort of read it and then I forgot it. It's like maybe it was deleted, like that X-Men movie or so. I don't know what happened there. So this team seemed to be pretty good this week, though, right? Loco, what do you think of Dignitas?
They bring on the hype. Improved.
They've definitely improved.
Okay, I really want to get into, like, just individually. Okay,
let's go.
Shifter is Shifter. He is, in my opinion, the second best mid in NA after Bjergsen. And, like, watching Shifter has been such a, like, it was so fun watching Shifter play LeBlanc. He fucking dumpstered on kids. Shifter definitely delivered. He showed that, like, some people said like stuff like Shifter only looks good on coast because everyone's so shitty. He only looks good in comparison. But no, like Shifter showed that he really is a top class mid in NA. And I really want to talk about their bottom lane. Kiwi Kid definitely stepped the fuck up. Like when you think Dignitas bottom, like Kiwi Kid and Cutie Pie, you think like they're two like ugly motherfuckers. They're such trolls. Like they're so ugly. They always yell. They're just entertaining. They're not good. But while Cutie Pie isn't one of the best ADs, like he's good, but he's not on like Double Lift Turtle or Sneaky level. But he's getting there, and he has consistently done well, regardless of how bad his team is done, how bad his support is playing. Kiwi Kid has been very, very consistent, and he hasn't been consistent like Cop consistent, where you just play defensive, and you're like, I'm just gonna farm up. Cutie Pie has been known to carry in occasions. And Kiwi Kid, I honestly thought like Dignitas keeping Kiwi Kid, like because after Patoy left and Kiwi Kid being support, it's just like narcissism, where not narcissism, what's that word? Fuck. Something schism, where you just keep players because like they were on the roster, but
nepotism.
What?
Nepotism. Where you keep like a
Nepotism.
friend or a brother just because he's related to you.
Yeah. I thought it would have been nepotism, but Kiwi Kid stepped it up. Like he was okay on other supports and he was good on any last season, but now his Zyre is good, his Annie's good, his Thresh is good. Kiwi Kid is making a name for himself as one of the better supports in NA. I'm very excited for like what's gonna happen to Dignitas going forward. Like if they can get their shot calling done right, if they can get
That's a big if right there, though. You can't just throw that in there. If you can just get your shot calling done right, then probably the best team in the world.
It's stuff to work on. It's stuff to work on. Shot calling, mid late game management, but their lanes are definitely up there. But there's one player that I'm still a question mark about is Zion. I don't think Zion was the best pickup for top. NA has been known to be stark for top, and Zion was probably like an additional deal for Shifter. It was like, yo, we'll sell you Shifter for like $1,000, and they're like, and then
they're like, but wait, it comes with this free steak knife. And they're like, but wait, there's more.
There's more. There's Zion. We'll throw in a Zion Spartan. And OD's like, okay. And then Zion was just an added bonus. And he was a reasonable pickup. Like, I don't think there was someone better you could have gotten. Like, you would have to invest time because there's no one, like, fully developed as a top laner you could use. Like, they maybe could have gotten Neon or Mega Zero. But Zion already played with Shifter. He has LCS experience. So it's just Zion is very shaky. And I don't think, like, he's up to par as rest of the team now.
And, yeah, I would agree on that. But I think Zion, we'll have to see how he gets used to working in a team that has more infrastructure, that seems to be cracking down a little bit more. But I don't think Dignitas, if you remember at the beginning of the last split too, everybody was hyped on Dig because they went on a 6-game winning streak, and then they just fell off really hard. They're a very streaky team by nature, and they're not very consistent. And they're not very consistent because they figure out like some way to play the game, but then they don't adapt with the meta. Like it seems like they're just like kind of throwing darts at a dartboard, and that's the problem that I don't know if we're going to see rectified. Maybe we will. With Skara moving into the coaching staff, with them getting more analysts, it's possible. All I'm saying is that this has traditionally been their problem, and when I made my statement that getting Shifter and Zion in there hasn't actually fixed the core fundamental issues, it hasn't. Yes, they're stronger. Maybe they'll win some games. They'll be able to overpower from the laning phase that they couldn't before. But that's not a reliable way to beat Cloud9.
Okay, but their skill ceiling is way up there now. Even if they still have Skara and Cruiser, even if they fixed all their like shot calling problems, they would be gated by how good Skara and Cruiser are as solo laners. But now they're like still here, but their roof is way up there now. Like they have their skill ceiling is so fucking up there now. It's not gated by their solo laners anymore.
I agree. Well, and that's I agree.
Actually, I think you make a good point when you started with the bot lane there, because I think the bot lane is going to be a lot to do with how good they are this season, because one of the problems Dig had always in the past, and they've even admitted as much in interviews when I've done them with them, was like they were the team where it felt like they didn't want it as much as some of the others. As in, like, say they did well, but then they got, well, like they did almost every time. They got to the semi-finals of like a split or something, but then they lost to the better team. It was like, okay, that's all right. We almost qualified for Worlds. Maybe we could have done it. They didn't seem like the team that was going like super ham, like, okay, we failed this split. We must change our mid laner. Like, he's not good enough. We need to get a new jungler. They weren't going to be like that, okay? They seemed like more laid back, like, we'll just see what we can do with this team that we kind of like right now, but they weren't like a Korean method of like brutal, like, we must win. Well, they've gotten rid of a lot of the players who potentially either held them back skill-wise or maybe with that mentality. But then you look at the bot lane, and obviously I'm a cutie pie. There's always going to be questions about this guy because he's such a goofball. You can never know, like, is he really like that competitive a guy? Is he driven in the same way? Actually, it's funny you were saying, like, well, by the way, I'll just also put this disclaimer in there. Monty, because I know we need to fix Monty's image here. Monty does not ascribe to Loco's views about how ugly the bottom lane of Dignitas may or may not be. In fact, Monty doesn't even have an opinion.
You're the one that
Dude, I do.
Me.
Dude, I'm a cutie pie.
Don't even.
I'm a cutie pie's favorite champion is Ezreal. I don't know if you could get a bigger disparity between what a person looks like in real life and what their champion looks like they use in game. That's all I'm going to say right there. But I love the guy.
This with a 10-foot pole.
He's a great guy. What can I tell you? So you've got them, because if you look, okay, Shifter, really good player, obviously. Crumbs, I always think he's been underrated. I think he's a good player, dude. He's got a really wide champion pool, seems to know what he's doing, shot calling and stuff. And then the other player is Zion. He's obviously the other one you have to ask about. When you made these criticisms about Flame before, like he wants to carry, he has to carry, he's always playing these champions to try and carry weird matchups, wouldn't these criticisms actually apply to someone like Zion, where he isn't the Flame level talent, but sometimes people say that's what he does, right?
In his head,
that's a question.
Like,
in his head, he's Flame? Okay.
Even his teacher.
So he's the alternate universe version of Flame.
In his head,
got Flame, Lord Flame, Lord Flame Jr.
Yeah. Lord Flame Jr. No, yeah. Lord Flame the Third.
He's the Bizarro. He's the Bizarro Flame. That's who Zion is.
Let's call him Lord Flame the Third.
I like Bizarro Flame better.
Yeah, Bizarro Flame. Okay. Is that really a problem though? Because here's the thing. Okay, that's the sort of thing that gets repeated on Reddit, and I've seen games where it happened, but I don't know. I haven't watched every game of Zion, so I don't know if that's just one of those things people repeat. Does he tunnel on carrying?
Yes.
I mean, it's a habit you have when your teammates are bad, and in Coast, like, their bot lane was pretty bad, their jungler was bad, so you develop that. Like, people don't come into the scene thinking, like, they're gonna be, like, fucking Faker or Flame or Mad Life or whatever. They develop that, like, as their teammates play worse, they get greedy, and they realize the only way I can win is if I carry this shit, so they become greedy players, and I mean, that's happened to Zion. Now he doesn't need to be greedy, and all you have to do is be solid with his team. It's up to him.
That's why I think he's the X factor, because the difference is now it's not like it's true in Coast. Well, they literally, if you look at the stats in Coast, the games where Zion carried were the games they won. The games where he didn't, Shifter would still do just as well, but they lose. So that's obviously not required in Dig. Like you're saying, the skill cap for them is very high now, and potentially, okay, the bot lane can carry, the mid lane can carry. He doesn't have to, in theory. Do you think he'll actually do it? If you had to guess right now, by the end of the season... Okay, so we're doing one of these magical Locodoco predictions. By the end of the season, Glebe Garbnu's top 3 support. Where is Zion at the end of the season in NA top laners?
Okay, Balls, Dyrus, Seraph, maybe. Who knows? Actually, I do want to say that. Balls, Dyrus, Seraph. And then... actually, Ackerman. No, Balls, Dyrus, Ackerman, Seraph, and then Zion.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I think that's reasonable.
Okay. That's
my guess.
How much room is there for him to go up there if he changes mentality? Is it his skills are good enough to be higher up?
It's top lane. The mentality is so it's really, really hard to learn, and it's really hard to be that good. Oh, the stream died, by the way. Oh, never mind.
Let's back up.
Okay. Like, the top lane, like, to get your mentality up there, it's so fucking hard, because you have to know which CS you have to, like, go up. You have to know how to lane when your jungler isn't there. It's really fucking hard. It's not something you pick up over a split. I don't think he will pick it up this split. It comes with so much experience, and it comes with so much, like, you have to put in the work to get better for that to actually happen.
So I want to get to the point Monty teased before about what he thought about LMQ and Dig, but let's go through some more teams, and then we'll have the full breadth of things to go back and forwards on. So the next team I want to talk about is Cloud9, because, okay, I did these articles about Cloud9, so I can tell you the stats. They started the other seasons absolutely gangbusters, winning the first week. I think they always won every single game. They would usually only lose the first game within like week 3 or so, something around there. And so they're used to just always start the split super strong. This time they've started 2-2. That's a big shock, right? And losing to fucking Complexity.
Oh, C9?
Yeah.
Well, okay. They had a little bit of bump with their like regular training schedule, with High being sick and like him playing shitload of solo queue from All Stars and all that shit. But all in all, it definitely was a disappointing start for C9 and for a lot of the people that had C9 in their fantasy team.
Okay, but ignoring fantasy league stuff, Monty, what did you think of C9's start? What's different from the C9 of old?
It was a bit rocky, and but the thing about C9 that you really is they're so innovative, and they're the curve of the meta, especially in North America. And I think that a lot of their travel time around All-Stars just slowed down their ability to do research a little bit, and maybe they didn't take things as seriously coming in. I don't really know what their team mentality is, but I don't think there's really a concern. They'll still finish really strong, I think, over the course of the split.
Did the loss to Call shock you?
It was pretty sloppy, but they came back and played a really tight game versus CLG. So, sometimes you have a bad day. That's it. All
Okay,
teams
but
are going to have that.
no, that's the thing though, Monty. Cloud9 have never had a bad day like that. I'll tell you, every loss they've ever had was against a team who was either like a top 4 team who played really well in that game, or it was like the other best team. So it was like TSM, or it was Volcom when they were the best, playing just above Cloud9's level, like really close game, and then they go above. I've never seen Cloud9 get dumpstered by the worst team.
Well, first off, Cloud9 actually kept that game competitive after giving up a triple kill at like level 1, right? So,
it's the worst team.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. I just don't think it's going to happen again. I think it was a fluke.
Loco?
Once High gets back up there, I don't see C9 losing to teams like Complexity ever again. That was a one-time thing. I agree.
Okay.
It's because C9 is the team. They put up consistent results because they're not a team that's like, if you're a team that does really well in lane and you just snowball that, then you're prone to losing to bad teams if you have a bad level 1 and you lose lanes or something like that. But that hasn't been the C9 strength. It's been their shot calling, it's been their rotations, it's been their mid-game wave management, it's been their late-game decision-making. And that's what C9 is good at. And if you're good in that sense, you don't lose to bad teams. Because even if you make mistakes early and mid, you cover it up mid and late through team fights, through late-game decision-making, through wave control. And that's what C9 is good at. And they just fucked it up really fucking hard. I don't think it's going to happen again. They will not lose to teams like Complexity or teams like Curse or whatever.
On Reddit, someone said that they'd had the same thing that High had, where their long had collapsed. Well, I mean, it's fucking Reddit, so who knows if this is true. Could just be spitballing. But the guy sounded genuine, and he said when he had it, it took him like a few months before he actually felt like he was normal again. Obviously, it's easy to just blame that on the loss. Do you think that...
been even a few months after
it's been like a month, I think.
Okay.
Do you think that High being ill actually does play a role in it?
Definitely. They were really relying on High for most of their shot calling from what I heard. So if High is like...
Yeah, they are super reliant. I can tell you they are super reliant. I've heard Cloud9's comms when Link was on the team, and they are really, really reliant on High.
Were those interesting, getting to hear the comms?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think it gave you any insight? Anything
into how Cloud9 operates? Yeah. No, I think that our CLG's ideas around comms are. I think that it's just with the players that we have that Cloud9's comms would not work for us, and having that kind of sole shot caller. And we've changed up our comms a little bit again recently to give Dexter more control of the early game, and I think that that's really benefited us in Scrim. So actually, I think I feel right now that over the past week, the changes we've made into how our comms operate and who takes over which phase of the game have been really successful.
Okay, so then let's go right into the CLG topic. So CLG 2-2 for the week. Yeah,
and obviously probably should have been 3-1. We definitely threw the game against LMQ. I mean, shit happens.
It's an interesting use of the word probably there, Monty.
You could never know what happens in a game. And to be fair to LMQ, they did play that Baron. They played it really, really well. So credit to them where it's due, right? They played that properly. But yeah, I think that
Baron was essentially, for people who don't know the context, okay, CLG were grouped taking the Baron. LMQ, in theory, couldn't fight for the Baron because everyone except Ackerman had like half or maybe even a third health. And they weren't even near the pit. They were like off over the side of their jungle on like I think it's the red side. Ackerman ults
Ackerman
onto
played it
all
really
four
well.
people.
Yeah,
and then that allowed them to turn the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I mean, it got Xiao Wei Xiao there, and like it was. They played it really well. There's nothing, and of course, like the thing CLG should have done in that situation when they get the 2 kills and they see that Yasuo was in the bottom lane is just push through the 2 top towers. Tier 1 and Tier 2 up in the top lane. That's the proper call at 19 minutes. Had it been at 25 minutes, they probably could have done the Baron, but it was just too early in the game.
But the reason it was hilarious, Monty, incidentally, is because everyone makes fun. You would probably make fun if it wasn't this context now. Everyone makes fun of China, that they just like farm up and then at like 25 minutes, they're just like, right, but all all teams to the Baron, please. We will decide the game now. And then they're like, attack me now, sir. I will defeat you. And then whoever wins gets the Baron as a prize and just wins the game, right? That's what we always make the joke about. This is what LMQ did and won the game.
Yeah, yep, it's true.
Were CLG aware of this scouting of the Chinese region?
Yeah, it was just a bad play. I mean, but the thing about that LMQ game is that it's one of those games where you lose, but you don't get that mad about it because we played really well in the early game. And
really? I think those are the games you get most mad about because you have it in your hands and like.
But there's something you can learn about playing out your advantage in this situation. And it's like once one of those mistakes is made, the odds of it ever being made again are so astronomically low. So,
okay, that's an interesting statement for someone from CLG, I've got to say. Once mistakes are made, the odds of it happening are astronomically low. Okay, maybe this is a new era, Monty. I don't know. I want to believe
most of our problems last season.
I'm going to get a poster, Monty, like that classic UFO poster, and it's going to be a picture of your face on a CLG logo. It'll just say, "I want to believe."
All right, there you go.
That's how I feel about CLG. I want to. I can't, but I want to. Yeah, if the UFO is out there, just pick me up. Let me think. What was the other point I was going to make?
Just about what I think about CLG's performance as being somebody in the team. I can tell you, and I told you last week, that we didn't have a large degree of confidence going into that week, and we knew things were going to be a little bit shaky, but improvement is coming up. It's definitely much different this week than it was last week.
Oh, I had a question about this Baron situation. I once heard a statement, I think it was Crepo when he was on the analyst desk at Worlds, where he was describing, if you remember in Group B of that tournament where it was Fnatic, Gambit, Ozone and Vulcan, there was 1 million games that were decided in a Baron fight. That's what would always happen, right? And Crepo made a point in one of these games that if you're the team who has Baron control and you're slightly ahead in the game anyway, then you should almost never go for the Baron. You should only ever use it to specifically bait a fight you want, or just to not let the other team get the Baron, because then they have to make a play, right? They have to go for it, or they have to give it up. You know, you should never go for it in that scenario. As a general rule, does this hold? Do you think?
Yes.
Of course, it's common sense. It's if you're ahead.
Loco, you say that's common sense, but like, how many fucking times have we seen Dignitas, CLG, all these teams do that? Go like, well, we're slightly ahead, but if we had that Baron, we'd be even more ahead. What if you lose it though?
When you're ahead, you can snowball that lead, but when you're behind, you want to go for 50-50 stuff, you know? It's better in your odds. Like, why would you go? It's stupid. You don't want to do it.
It was terrible. It was a terrible call. I don't know what you want me to say about the CLG situation. No, clearly terrible.
I just thought it was a good time to bring up this general point for people who wanted to.
No, I totally agree with Crepa on that. Yeah.
So the other team we're going to talk about now, TSM, Team Solo Mid. Reginald's in the game, right? Okay, so talking about TSM now. Everyone came in on the hype. Initially, we thought, okay, they're adding amazing. They're going to be they're going to be amazing, whatever. But then they had the support change, and I think that made people quite split. Like, is the support going to be bad and they're going to be worse? Are they going to be better overall with amazing anyway? What did you think of TSM this week?
I feel like there was more of a fucking, like, people expected Gleek to fail, and I feel like Gleek
but they thought amazing was really good though, so maybe they thought that could counter it, you know.
I feel like Amazing showed potential and that he can be better than Odd One, but his early game decision making still needs work.
Is Amazing in any way the shot caller in TSM?
I don't know.
Just
we'll have to hear their communication.
Okay. What did you think of TSM, Monty?
I think they had a pretty decent start. I mean, they got absolutely crushed by Cloud9, but that's to be expected, right?
Well, they have only won one game against them ever. Sure.
Yeah, and I think that when I was, because we didn't play them last week when we were screwing with them, they were solid but not amazing. I think they're still they're a very beatable team. I'm not super concerned about them. In fact, I think I was much more concerned about them last season than this one.
Really? I think Amazing and Glebe are upgrades over Odd One and X Special.
I actually don't. Come on, Loco. I'll give you Amazing, okay. He's already good mechanically, and he has the potential.
Watching X Special play in that match versus...
in a worse team, okay. In with a worse team, fucking AD carry, okay.
Yeah. Come on.
Come on, dude.
Come on, Loco.
I still.
Come on, motherfucker.
Okay,
Come
okay.
on. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on. Come on.
you're telling me this amateur support player is better at controlling the pace of the game. Let's compare him to professional support players who know how to ward, how to control the vision, how to roam. Tell me the ways in which Glebe is stronger than Xpecial.
Just okay, from what I thought, like from watching playoffs and stuff like that, and working with Glee before on Cloud9 Tempest, I thought I was 100% like right, and that Xpecial is like getting Glebe over Xpecial is going to be a downgrade. But watching the Super Week and watching how Xpecial played versus how Glebe played, I would say they're almost even. Okay, it would be a stretch to say Glebe is an upgrade, but overall, I think Glebe will get consistently better, where Xpecial will plateau
that's
or
a
go
fair
down.
thing to say. But right now, I don't have any concern about Afro and Double Lift 2v2ing Glebe and Wild Turtle.
That's a fair statement.
Okay,
But
when you say that though, Loco, you say he has more potential and maybe he can grow more. Right this second, Xpecial is a better support than Glebe
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes.
right this second, yeah.
Okay, so you just see that you think he's
And
going to grow
part of that is just professional experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
And once Glebe, I'm not saying Glebe is terrible, Glebe will never be good. I'm just saying right now, not too concerned about TSM.
Okay.
As an aside, before we finish talking about Xpecial altogether, because Curse aren't relevant, so I won't be talking about them later in the show.
Wow.
When there was this fake drama of like Xpecial wouldn't hug Wild Turtle, can we just like quickly just put a lid on that completely? Which is like, first of all, he shook his hand. Like, what is he supposed to do? So if Wild Turtle, who was in some way implicated in having Xpecial kicked out of the team he made one of the greatest of all time, if he comes over, he's like, I had you kicked out the team. I actually wanted to play with this new guy. I've made you go to Curse, which is like fate worse than death. And I just beat you in this game. So now I'd like to tongue kiss you, Xpecial. Frenchie? And then if he doesn't, you're like, ooh, Xpecial's a bad guy. Like, he still shook his hand. Like, what's he supposed to do? I'd have been like, yeah, bring it in. And then when I brought it in, I'd have a little like, nah, actually, maybe that's going too far. I was going to say I'd stick a little dagger in his back and be like, Xpecial sends his regards. This hug is your journey. This hug is your journey through life into death.
You mean when
Something
okay,
like
so
that.
thing is, like Turtle was like hug, and then Xpecial was like no, but like Bjergsen just went up to him and hugged him, and then like he was okay with it. I think Xpecial would have been fine with it if Bjergsen.
So what you're saying is the problem is that Wild Turtle is beta, and he's like, "Can I have a hug, please?" And then they're like, "Nah, I
I'm
don't
pretty
really like
sure
that."
Turtle
But
wasn't
Bjergsen's
like-
just like, "Bring it in, bitch." Ooh, that's right. I'm a man.
I'm pretty sure Turtle wasn't like I'm a fucking rub it in your face. Yo, come here and hug me. Turtle was just being friendly, and like it was the wrong things to say at the wrong time, and like it's just overblown out of proportion.
Yeah, it was bullshit.
And when like Bjergsen hugged him, yeah, he was probably like Reginald sends his regards, dude. Like bitch, like this is what.
Yeah, maybe that's what he whispered into his ear. That was the final crushing thing. Reggie sends his regard. Bay life, bitch. So, when you're bay for life. Tell Chaos we still got him. Some shit like that. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fucking Reddit likes to blow everything out of proportion. It was just it was just so fucking stupid. It was just stupid. What to say? It was stupid.
Yeah. Okay. So this now brings us to the statement we teased from before. So LMQ starts 4-0. By the way, the only team in both splits to go 4-0. So best team in the West, LMQ.
That's the
And Dig started really well, but Monty says neither team will be at the top at the end of the split. Am I correct in that's what your statement was, Monty?
Yeah, I think LMQ has a chance maybe to be top 4. But
who would push LMQ out of top 4?
yeah, so probably like somewhere in the 3rd to 4th range, I'd think.
No, wait a second. What do you mean there? Who would push them out of top 4? Well, think of the teams you have.
No, I don't think anybody would.
That doesn't. What? You don't think LMQ can be pushed out of the top 4? Think about the teams: CLG, Cloud9, TSM. Well, there's 3 right there. Dignitas,
Yep.
there's 4.
I don't think
either
Dignitas is going to be top 4.
Okay.
Wow.
Loco,
I
you
think-
don't agree?
Okay. Here's my prediction for NALCS.
Let me just strap myself in. Okay, got this on. I'm ready.
What the fuck? Okay. Solo mid first.
So limit
You
first.
can just stop right
What?
now. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We have to stop you right now, Loco.
My
Oh,
predictions.
sorry,
Let
okay,
me at
my
least
bad,
say
man.
what I want to say before you guys can feel free to disagree with me. Solo mid
Thanks.
first. Solo mid first. CLG second. C9 third. LMQ fourth. Dignitas fifth. After that, I don't really care.
Monty, you can have first crack at this.
I don't see how you can honestly believe TSM first place.
Okay, you cannot believe. We can argue later on, but I think this.
What do you mean later on? We're on a fucking talk show right now. How about we argue now?
Okay. This is my prediction, so you can disagree with me as much as you want. You can disagree and like we can argue, but I feel like TSM has the best roster strength right now, and as they get better at mid game and late game management and just early game, and once they get better at planning and just mechanically, TSM has the best members right now. I feel like overall.
I think you do not have a realistic time frame. I think maybe you could say TSM maybe next year, but to get players to fix their comm and get into a groove of properly planning takes a long time, and I don't think they have enough time.
All right, and that's your argument, and I stand by my point. I think TSM first, CLG second, C9. Okay.
How can C9 be third for fuck's sake? Below. So you're not only going to give one team a massive jump up in level, either TSM or CLG. You're going to give both of them a massive jump up over C9. Get the fuck out.
No, I'm CLG's coach, and I don't think we can beat C9 this season. Like what?
I think CLG are on a slight rise, and I think C9 are on a slight decline.
What's your basis for them being on a slight decline then?
Just watching them play, and I feel like once. Okay, here's the thing.
Yep, here we go.
Turtle, and Double and Sneaky, all three of them are on the same level. So like all three of them, like they have their off days, they have their on days. Maybe Sneaky is a bit more safer than everyone. Maybe Double Lift has more potential to carry. Maybe Wild Turtle gets more kills in lane. But like whatever. But just overall, I think those three are on the same level. But when it comes to support, I think Afro is the best out of Glebe and Lemon and Afro. And I feel like Lemon, he's good positioning wise, mechanics wise, he's solid, but he's gated somewhat. Like he's hit a skill cap mechanically. And like just champ pool wise, like his skill shots aren't gonna get better. The only way he can get better is positioning wise, and I think Afro and Glebe will catch up to them in that regard. And at the end of the split, I think CLG will have the best bot lane, then solo mid, then C9 will eventually get a worse bot lane, and teams are gonna get better at shot calling. The reason why C9 is so fucking ahead right now is they plan well, they stay ahead of the meta, and their shot calling and their mid and late game is great. And that's the edge they have on other teams. It's not their mechanics. It's not their.
Well, that's the edge that no one has ever been able to catch up to on them, though. So why is it magically going to happen now? I don't even think it will. So I just want to know why you think it will.
I think it's time. It's about fucking time people in NA start getting better. They're not going to be bad.
By that logic, we'd have got better like 2 years ago, Loco. So anyway.
No, it's been 2 years. And then I think it's about time.
And it'll be 3 years by tomorrow. Anyway, my point I was going to make was, that's what's weird to me is that you're so confident in that, because that is the hardest area in the game to improve, and here's why. It's not that Cloud9, let's use the same logic on Cloud9, okay? So Cloud9 are going to work really hard, and then in 6 months their shot calling will be even better and their late game strategy. No, it's not going to happen. There's a degree to which you are the team you are, and all you can fix is like take performance issues out of the way. You can improve strategically if you're really bad strategically, but a team like Cloud9 naturally has the right mix. From day one almost, they were this amazing.
The gap will close. There is a gap, but
I think it won't, because those teams that they're playing aren't the sort of team who naturally have that. So they're artificially having to learn good strategy and implement things that'll work, and that will always slightly fail against the team who has that natural flow of how to do things and can break down the problem in the process, you know.
I mean, we're gonna have this on VOD, and we can talk about it like at the end of
No, I'm glad we do, Loco, because you're saying that like you're going to take it back in time and be like, see, I told you they'd win.
Maybe you guys will laugh at me, and maybe who knows? Maybe it'll be the same. Maybe it'll be C9 first, and then solo mid CLG fighting for second, and then like Curse fourth as always, something like that. Maybe it'll be exactly like that. But I want to go out of my way and make that prediction.
I also have a question for you too, because if we look at, because you are saying that Glebe, you've been saying consistently over the course of this show that you believe that Glebe is going to get by the end of the season up to the level of Lemon and Afro. Okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time an NA born and bred and raised player, an amateur player, who wasn't on Cloud9 came into a professional team and became a top 3 player by the end of one split?
Turtle.
Show me that.
Turtle.
Actually, he technically was on Cloud9 at one point.
He was on
but
Orbit.
not in the way that one team.
He wasn't
yeah,
on
was
Cloud9. He was on Orbit. Turtle.
Turtle had been around and playing professionally in the scene for a while already.
You said amateur player. Wasn't Turtle an amateur player before
But
LCS? He was on Orbit.
Yeah, but that was before LCS existed.
Yeah, so...
It was after LCS existed.
But he was playing in professional tournaments.
Yeah, he failed the qualifier, you're right.
Well, isn't Turtle do you mean like someone straight out of...
He means like a
Solo
brand new player, yeah. Like Glebe Garbnu, that's the point of the analogy.
Glebe was playing on C9 Tempest. Like, he has just as much experience as Turtle did.
No, that's ridiculous.
No, that is
While
not
Turtle
true.
had gone to tons of lands, or MLG's IPL face, he'd even done well at some of them. He'd come I think he came 4th at one.
I don't get why Turtle isn't a valid example.
Because he's essentially someone who just didn't have a really good team but was skilled.
He was an amateur player, and his team, the initial team he played on was with Nian, with Hai, with Lemon, with Yazuki. That team was skilled.
Okay, here's the analogy. I can break down, I think, what the difference between the communication is here. While Turtle was someone where nothing changed in his play, he just got onto TSM and then we saw he was amazing. Glebe Garbnu, in theory, right now is not better than Xpecial, which is what you're saying, but he's going to get on TSM and that's going to, for some reason, that's going to make his level rise. While Turtle's level didn't rise, he was just really good from the second he joined TSM.
No, after he joined TSM and he got the Penta, he dipped a bit. When he couldn't get Kaylin, when he couldn't get Draven, before he got good on stuff like Corki, Graves, and Israel, he definitely dipped a bit.
Right.
And I mean, that's even incidental to the point that I'm making, which is that Wild Turtle competed at professional lands and was on the same tier competing against professional teams, right? He was before LCS existed. He was. This is a thing that he did. Glebe has never been competing actively against professional teams.
Here's a really weird question, Loco. I'm going to ask you this because I know that you know about the amateur scene and you say that you know about the Cloud9 Tempest and you talk to the coach and all that shit. If this Glebe Garbnu is such a talent, why did not even any other team of Cloud9 Tempest have any interest in the guy? If he hadn't gone to TSM, he wouldn't be in LCS right now.
I'm not sure if I can talk about it. I'm not going to say which team.
Just give us a vague guess.
I'm not going to say which team, but LCS teams made him an offer before.
Okay. But I mean, for example, last split, you remember Sheep came in, he was a support player, Bonnie Fufu came in. They even put fucking Saint Vicious in the lineup at support. And he's like a guy who used to miss smites at the jungle. Like, why wasn't Glebe Garbnu on top of people's lists? It's like, this guy's gonna be really talented. Was everyone else missing something? Have you noticed something secret about him?
Okay, just last episode, I thought Glebe was shitty too. I thought he would be a downgrade over Xpecial, but watching him play in Super Week changed my mind.
Okay. That's valid. All I'm asking, this all came from my question, which is, so I'll scale my question back a little bit. Since the LCS started, where is an amateur player that has been introduced to a team that has gone in one split from amateur player to top 3 in their position?
But not Cloud9.
Yeah, that's not Cloud9.
I still think Turtle's a valid argument for that, but let me think of other examples. I mean, it hasn't happened if you want to branch out even more to Korea, Mata is an example of that. Bengi is an example of that.
No, I'm not asking. I know Korean players do it, dude. I'm not asking about Korea. I'm asking about NA. I'm just saying that's not a thing that has happened.
I really think Turtle's a valid example of that.
I disagree with you because he was extremely experienced professionally.
In fact, here's a funny thing. We've just talked in this episode about someone who's gotten from the amateur level to the LCS level and now is becoming a top player, Shifter. Well, think how many splits it took him to get to that status. He was in LCS competing all those times, but the Shifter now was not the same Shifter in LCS Spring 2013. He didn't just go one split right to the top, right?
Yep.
I actually think Moni's right. I can't think of an example. I don't think there is one.
No, it's not.
And unfortunately, I think that's sort of the reason why.
That's why I want to hold you up on this, and that's why I just want to say this now, is that maybe Glebe will be the best support. I just don't think it's going to happen in one season. And I think that this is revealing that you think Glebe's talent ceiling is so astronomically high that he's just magically going to do what nobody else has done?
I think he's driven. I think he's on the right team to be one of the best supports. I think the stars are in line for him to do well.
You know what I've just realized about this show? People think, okay, that Monty is a Korean lover and he hates NA. People think that Locodoco's a Korean, so obviously he's going to be biased against NA. I've realized Locodoco hasn't just had a sip. He's drunk the whole bottle of the NA Kool-Aid. He thinks CLG and TSM are going to be better than Cloud9. He thinks Glebe Garbner is going to be one of the top supports. He thinks Dignitas is going to be really good. This guy's just... And then he ran through the wall and he was like, I'm here, bitches. I'm in NA.
Yeah.
Yes!
Okay. I mean, I have different opinions than
know.
you and Monty. Like, it's
No,
Sure,
it's just
yeah.
that I think that in terms of your valuation, I feel like you are bizarrely valuing NA you're grading NA on a different rubric than Korea.
I mean, I guess. I need another cig.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, no, he has a point there. I mean, let me think of someone that you would say would be bad. Let me think. Okay, well,
okay, I'm just gonna, like, a lot of my predictions seem out there, and I'm not gonna lie, I do have more inside info than, like, a regular person, but most of the time my predictions have been really, really spot on. I called Bengi and Mata as best players before, like, just anything, like, just before, when they were amateur players and I was working with them, I told people these two are going to be fucking incredibly good in their positions, and they're going to do so fucking well. And I've been known to scout players before they're really good, just in amateur, and how they're motivated and how they play.
I agree, you are good at that.
With Gunza and Apple. And a lot of times with Bengi and Mata, people laughed at me too. They're like, I told people Mata's going to be the second Mad Life. He's going to be better than Mad Life. People told me I was being bitter, that I wasn't playing with Mad Life anymore and stuff like that. But honestly, was I not right about Mata? Was I not right about Bengi?
You were really right about Gunza and Apple, but that's okay.
Gunza is, well, it's pretty public. Gunza is a sub for Samsung, and he has been playing consistently.
Yeah, he's never going to get on one of those teams, bro. So that's the end of his career. Good night. Good night, sweet prince. Unless he comes to NA, like if Monty picks him up like Seraph style, like, hey, we're bringing in Gunza. He once played a game in OGN.
Also, initially, before like Korea had a scene, I told everyone, I told the CLG people, I told the solo mid people that once Korea starts playing, Korea's going to be the number one.
Well, that's why I moved to Korea too. Yeah,
and everyone disagreed with me.
No.
By the way, you know what?
Okay, people who disagreed with you did not watch StarCraft. That's it.
Okay.
By the way, here's the thing. I've just realized. You know these. Whenever we make Korean comments, apparently they get translated and they get put in invent so the Koreans can find out. Gunza, if you're listening, bro, I've got a way you can get into an LCS team. Meet me while I'm in Korea. I'll take you to a nice tailor. I'll get you a little waistcoat made, a little dicky bow tie. I'll tell you what to say. You'll just come up to the studio one day. You'll be like, Lord Monty, please, I'd like to rotate from Korea into North America and play for your team. I think I can get you on a team, bro. I'm just saying. Just saying, okay? Okay.
Anyways, my predictions, they might seem far out, but they're my predictions, and my far out predictions have gone more my way than other people's way, so I still stand by it.
Except for that one time you predicted you would get into the LCS. I won, Thorin. I won. I won the show today.
Dude, we had him ask us to 1v1 him, then he left the room temporarily. Hey Loco, how's it going, mate?
Fuck you.
Well, at least we're letting you smoke in this one, so your levels, it's calming you down, right? It's having a calming influence. You keep things in check. Okay, good. That is a cigarette, right?
Of course.
Ah, okay, yeah. Just to wait that question there.
I'm straight edge. I mean,
you can't be straight edge if you're smoking.
I don't do anything beyond cigarettes.
Okay.
And
no. Okay, then. So
drinking.
So Loco just made a prediction there on where his top 4 is going to be. What is Monty's top 4 at the moment? Obviously, we're not going to hold you to it, but what's your top 4 at the moment?
I think it's so hard to tell, honestly, and we've talked a lot on this show about what Dignitas could do, and I agree that with you guys that Dignitas did improve their ceiling, and so it's just a matter of improve in other areas as well, which is that big mystery, right? That we just don't know. So, and I mean, adding coaches and support staff will obviously help Dignitas, but a lot of other teams already had this stuff in place. So I don't know why. And it takes a while too for the coach to like figure out how the team works and everything like that. Obviously, it's an advantage because Scar has already worked with these guys before, but changing from a teammate role into a coach role with the same players, sometimes there can be respect issues with that, right? That's kind of a weird transition, don't you think, Loco?
It is. Like, it's really hard to be a coach. Like, being a coach is so different. You know, like, especially if you coach a team that you were initially on and that
right,
you're
that's what I'm
friends
saying.
with,
it's a little
really
weird.
fucking hard.
It's
You have
really
to be a coach before you're a friend, and it's something really hard. I don't think, like, Scar is so friendly, and Scar has been, like, a team with them for, what, 2-3 years now? Like, it's going to be really hard to be, like, beforehand, if Scar told you something, like, say I'm Crumbs, and Scar told me something like, yo, Crumbs, I think you should jungle this way. I'll take that into, if beforehand, when they're just players, Crumbs can take that into account, and he can make a decision based on what he thinks. But if a coach is telling you, if Coach Scar is telling you that, it has to be different. You have to put his opinion before yours, or there's no point having a coach. If you can't put the coach's opinion before then don't get a coach, because it's going to be useless. It's just a second opinion. If you want a second opinion, go check Reddit. If you want a coach, then actually fucking listen to your coach.
Right. And I think socially, obviously I have no idea what goes on in that team socially, but I think that in any situation where this would occur, there is obviously that danger that by switching roles, you don't have that respect or whatever. So there's just more ways for it to fail, basically, I think. So I guess top 4. Cloud9, CLG, TSM, LMQ. I guess I'll go with that, but I'm not very confident in that prediction.
I actually think the hard thing right now is I don't see it that CLG and TSM are at the level of the Cloud9. So to me, I think it's actually Cloud9 on their own. I'm certain they finish top. So then the next ones are the really hard ones, because then it's like, I actually genuinely think that like CLG, TSM, Dignitas, and LMQ, those are really interchangeable. Like I actually kind of agree with Monty. I don't think LMQ are as strong as the start suggests. But I also think when you have two teams that are big variables, like Dig and LMQ are massive, could be massively up and down. I feel like one of them probably will make good on that. So then I think it's a race between TSM, CLG, and then whichever one of those two is like the one that has the good streak. Okay, but
yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Because the thing is, even though TSM had the change as well, the other players have the pedigree, you know. They still have the experience, and so you have to figure that counts in their favor.
But you know what's really important? Top 4, it really doesn't fucking matter.
No.
We really should be talking about top 3, because those teams are going to make
Okay,
worlds.
let's do this then. Which team of the 5 I just described there doesn't make worlds? Make your bets.
I don't think there's any way to say that yet with like any kind of degree of confidence.
Just from... it's not even far-fetched, but solo mid, C9, CLG, those 3 will make worlds, in my opinion.
I think that's probably reasonable.
Oh god, I really wonder like what LMQ is gonna look like in the split. That's the team I have no idea. I don't talk to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Play. Like it's just
Loco,
that's the team. That's the biggest.
Does it not worry you that okay? We've only had 4 games played so far, but so far, LMQ skill-wise looks. I think LMQ skill-wise is as good as any team in NA. Comments?
Yep. Their raw skill is very good. Their skill ceiling is very high.
Can we rank teams, like, where do you think C9 stands just on their raw skills? Like, mechanics, laner strength?
Dude, I'd have them below every one of those teams I just mentioned.
Really? I'd have them, like, I guess...
Think about those teams. Think, we've got CLG. They must be better skill-wise. Come on.
I mean, if, like, okay, say the game was different and you could have a 6-member shot calling for you, and everyone had a really good shot caller, then then it would be, in my opinion, it would be solo mid, LMQ, CLG,
Dignitas?
No, C9 then Dignitas.
Why is C9 better than Dignitas?
Meteos, Sneaky.
Meteos is, I agree.
Meteos and Sneaky can definitely hold their own.
Okay, that's it. That one's different because that's like if you go man for man, I think you're right that C9 is better. But if you went overall skill across all 5,
even
I think
overall,
the graph
like,
would be slightly.
high lemon and balls aren't shitters. Balls is actually probably the best top.
One of the
No
things
one's saying they're shitters, bro.
One of the things that Link said to me was part of when he was shot calling on C9, that he said that it didn't make his laning phase as good because he had to focus so much on other things happening around the map. So I actually think that High's mechanics are being like suppressed by the fact that he has to be such a dominant shot caller.
Okay, 2 things. One, actually I was wrong on the dig test because I forgot about Kiwi Kid. So that's like, the average goes right down there, so forget that one. And then number 2, that's actually kind of, I know what you mean there, Monty, that's right, because this is the same thing that we used to have in Counter-Strike. Anyone who was the in-game leader used to get sort of, like, he wasn't judged on his skills in the game, okay, because he has to think and shoot people. But the problem with that is...
I always had to do that.
Yeah.
That's why I was always underrated.
But the problem is... Here's the thing, though.
You all. Thank you, Thorin.
I'm going to make the point now, though, that's the problem with that logic, Loco, is that's usually why those players become that player position as well, because their skills weren't the godlike skills anyway, and so they're willing to give it up because they're very smart and they can have that impact. The problem is people always want to go the other way and go, see, so if you put High on a team and he didn't have to shot call at all, then he'd be like Bjergsen. No, that would not be the case. We saw High before he was a shot caller, and he wasn't some god tier mid. In fact, in this conversation here today, you've already put Shifter over High with nothing changing. Shifter hasn't changed. He just woke up one day, put on a dig jersey, and magically he's better than High. It's interesting how that works, isn't it? You get a better team and you're just way better all of a sudden.
Even on Coast, I would have still ranked Shifter as second best mid NA.
I can believe you would, but most people wouldn't, dude. They'd have been like, well, C9 won the split and he was the MVP. Well, it's hard to be the MVP when you got fucking Nintendo X. Come on.
God.
I'm just saying.
Oh my god! Every time I come on this show, I burn bridges because I have to be honest about.
You had a bridge to Nintendo X that you thought was going to be viable one day that might get your career going. I mean, you two could probably be playing a challenger team in like a year or something. He can be your jungler.
Fuck you. It's just like I'm friends with people, and like I'm friends when I'm friends with them, and I'm a player.
Oh my god! I've just realised. In a year from now, Loco will move to NA. The team will be him, Glebe Garbnu, Nintendo X. Whatever. Fill in the rest of the blanks yourself. You see where the joke's going. Keep going.
Yeah. No, but still, like it's just whatever. Like I do enjoy being on the show, but I don't enjoy burning bridges.
No, that's what a lot of people think. Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. That's what summoning insight is.
That's sort of the tagline right there, isn't it, Monty? You know.
You should just rename the show "Burning Bridges."
Sure. No, it's not about burning bridges. It's just about having some more honest commentary about the scene. And Thorin and I will have anybody who wants to be on the show, on the show from the scene. That's fine.
Here's a key point I want to make actually there. Right, first of all, when Monty says that, say we talk about someone and we're quite critical of them, okay? So Zion Spartan, let me think who else. Some of the TSM players. If those players and they actually wanted to come on the show and debate us or make their point, we would be very interested. Now, I'll put one caveat. If you're boring as fuck or you're not a good player in LCS, don't bother mentioning that. Like, I'm going to slam you, but you're not coming on the show. Like, it has to be some balance to it, dude. We can't have you on for 3 hours. But if you're a good player, like Zion Spartan and Glebe Garbnu, anything... Well, that's maybe pushing it, Glebe Garbnu. Okay.
Wow.
One day, okay, here you go. Glebe Garbnu, here's a new thing, career goal. You can unlock the achievement of being able to come on Summoning Insight one day if you do actually become legit good. And then you can slam us and tell us we were all wrong, and then we'll bring it in for a hug and everything.
And you have to call me up and be like, okay, we're right once again.
Thorin and I will sit there and we will just literally eat your shit.
And we will call you Lord Glebe Garbnu.
Call me Lord Loco too. I want title as Lord.
Okay. So
if CSM finishes first, then like you call me Lord for a year straight, okay? Or you call me King.
Okay, deal. Right. But what do we get in exchange, Loco? What's the other side of that deal, Loco?
Yeah, I'll finish that interview with you, Thorin. And I'll say the legit story, and I'll be completely honest about everything.
What do I get?
What?
What do I get?
Well, I always help you anyways, regardless of anything. I don't know, like, I'll make you dinner. I'll make you curry chicken.
I'm sorry. I'm not. That is not a fair trade to call you.
You can have dinner once, Monty. You have to call him Lord for like 1 year.
We'll get back to this bet later. I'll think.
Okay. So to wrap up the show, let's talk about LCS EU because again, save the most interesting stuff till last. In EU, I don't even know what's going on, man. Loco, can you tell us? Like, Alliance seems to be doing the best, right?
Alliance, they did have that. They played a really good game against Fnatic, which actually gave me hope. And you did a good job, I guess.
Okay, I just want to say, like, even though I've been coaching Alliance, like, I haven't been able to coach all the games, and there's specific games I've coached and, like, I've actually prepped for. There's 2 games I want to take credit for, and the other games, like, I wasn't really part of it, so, like, I think it'd be unfair to take credit for it. But I want to take credit for the Fnatic game, the pick and bans, and, like, just in general, I worked with them a lot for the Fnatic game, and I also worked with them a lot for the Super Hot Crew game. It's coincidentally, that was the game they lost.
Well, I mean, can't win them all. That's the reality of life. But I think that the level 1 and the reaction from Alliance about how to dodge the wards and their heads-up play in the early part of that game was fantastic. And I think it was just really smartly played out by Alliance, and it gave me hope for EU.
I mean, we've always said Alliance, listen, they have all the skills. They need shot calling and they need, like, analysis, right? Those were only the 2 things they lacked.
And also, like, I'm very, very, very surprised about Shook's level of play in scrims. Shook's level of play in scrim is fucking insane. If people watch how Shook plays in scrims, like, they would literally, like, people might even call him best jungler world, but
the problem with that, Loco, is that's been the story the whole time he's been in Alliance. Everyone said in scrims, he goes ham, he just goes super aggressive, he dominates everyone, he gets every gank, and they win the game super early. But obviously, before, hadn't been able to show it in the games very much, you know.
Yeah, but, like, Shook is insane in scrims. I just really want to get that out there. Because everyone thinks, like, he's shit for some reason. Not shit, just mediocre. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's stage jitters. Maybe, like, he freezes up. Maybe, I don't know, like, he gets distracted in LCS. But if he plays like how he plays in scrims, Shook will topple Diamond for best jungle EU.
We had a scenario happen where 2 teams went totally the opposite way of last split. So Roccat went 1-3, Millennium went 3-1. Are these scenarios like when we're saying Cloud9 went 2-2, but they're still going to be really good? LMQ were really good, but maybe they won't be as good. What do you get the sense for this? Are Millennium legit? Is Roccat done?
No, I don't think so. I think Millennium is playing better, and I think the shift in their jungling has been working pretty well for them. But I don't think Roccat is done. I think that they're actually stable in terms of infrastructure from what I know about their coaching staff and their situation. And I think this is just beginning of the split because you never know how much teams have practiced coming into a split if they've been on vacation, like blah, 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 blah. The real, of course, it's a league. The real test is coming down the stretch. And I think Roccat will probably like pick it up again. And Millennium, I think, has improved, and they'll probably be middle of the pack, but top, I don't think is going to be happening for them in the long haul.
I think Millennium and Roccat, the best way to describe them is like Roccat. I think Rockat's finish in the playoffs was above expectations of what they would have done.
I agree.
So for me, coming into the split where everyone said, okay, Alliance, Fnatic, SK, they're 3 best. Well, then I think Roccat are the most solid candidate to be the 4th best. But they're not going to break the top 3, but they're going to be 4th. So then when you look at a team like Millennium's going to be battling with Roccat for the 4th spot for me. Like, Millennium's sort of like the European Dignitas, okay? They have the skills and the players. It's whether they can figure out shot calling, whether the right person's carrying the game. Like, I think that's like how Europe breaks down, basically. The real question, though, is I think one thing people are wondering about is, does this bad start from Fnatic mean that Fnatic is like... Is there any concerns there from either of you?
Well, they won 7 games and they lost 7 games in a row, so who knows? But, like, Fnatic roster strength-wise, Yellowstar is, like, he's like Afro in EU. Like, there just isn't really that many good supports, and Yellowstar stands out. And Reckless is probably one of the best ADs in EU, and the best looking by far.
I mean, that's what's important, really.
Dude, he's so fucking cute.
So basically, if Reckless played I'm a Cutie Pie, you'd be like, listen, Reckless is better mechanically, he's a better AD carry, and he's a lot better looking. So I'm going to give this
If I'm a Cutie Pie
Reckless,
looked at Reckless before game, and at Reckless was like, this is what I look like, this is what you look like, he would be so depressed and insecure he wouldn't be able to play properly.
I'm glad you don't like Brennan Bridges, though. I didn't even force you to say that.
I'm sure Cutie Pie will take that joke a lot better than anyone else.
Nah, he will. He's got a lot of training in it.
God, Reckless is cute.
Have you fully recovered from how cute Reckless is?
Like, so, like, not even joking. Like, after All Stars, like, literally, like, I would randomly end up on his Twitter and Immigrant, and I'd be like, oh my god, this kid is cute.
Who is hotter? Reckless, Watch, Flame. Who's the hottest?
Me and Watts used to work out all the time, so I've seen Watts
Jesus
naked.
Christ. Jesus.
So, and even with that, I still.
Have you
think
been to a
Reckless
sauna
is
with
cuter.
him?
Yeah, well, every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you know where this is going, Loco, where what people are going to do with this on Reddit and chat. So you've seen what he can do then. Okay. Let's just wrap this shit up then. Right. Is there anything else about EU that's worth pointing out?
Well, I Gambit, just like terrible.
Yeah.
I think that's the most surprising thing when we talk about EU is that, I mean, of course, there was that they've been kind of strip mined of talent by NA, and Alliance is continuing their upward trend. Fnatic continuing their trend of being pretty mediocre after All Stars. SK still looking good. Millennium probably not going to stay up there. Super Hot Crew, Copenhagen Wolves, and Gambit seem like they're kind of going to be the bottom teams. And like you're saying, 4th and 5th, probably between Rockcat and Millennium. But Gambit, man, what a hard situation for them. I mean, we've talked extensively, especially last week with Mythy, which is, I think, why we're going a little lighter on EU this week, right? Because it was all EU all the time last week. But I think things are more clear at face value in Europe as opposed to NA, where there have been so many roster changes that it's a little bit difficult to read.
No, I think I think everyone in the world almost can say what the EU's top 3 is going to be. They just don't know what order. That's
What do you think it's going to be? Alliance, SK, Fnatic?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think everyone... Dude, I think even every EU team would say that. In fact, I think there was a poll done recently where they started a poll on Paravine where they, like, a lot of players had to rank all the teams in both regions, and I think that was the top 3 for everyone for Europe.
Well, maybe Millennium or Rockcat surprise, but it's not like NA where it's like ridiculously hard to say who's going to end up top 3 this split.
I think
it's so dependent on.
I think
how
Loco
well
has
teams
some sort of
adjust to
outside
the roster changes.
I think Loco's become like the magic 8 ball. He's trying to make these crazy predictions now. So, come on! I know you've got something in there, Loco. You want to say something crazy like Rockcat?
No, it's nothing crazy. I think Alliance is going to finish first. That's about it.
Just because you coached them for like a week, okay? Yeah.
No, because I coach them for a week and I see what their problems are and how easily it can be worked out. Even if I don't end up working with them full time, Alliance will be good. And if I work with them, they might even win Worlds.
Well, when we were saying it was clear cut what the top 3 would be, you sounded like.
Okay. Can we go back to what he just said?
Okay. What point are we going back to here?
If I keep working with them, they might win Worlds.
Whoa, yeah. Stop. I need like a new overlay here, like the danger room, and then like there's flashing lights around Loco. Okay.
You know, Fnatic made top 4 Worlds last season.
Is there any relevance to that statement?
Dude,
it's a nice piece of trivia.
It's a nice piece of trivia, and just considering how good Fnatic was.
Were you
then,
secretly coaching Fnatic or something? And what am I missing here?
No, it's just like a EU team that good.
Yeah.
Like I don't think the skill level between Fnatic and Alliance was huge last season. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Loco, I'm losing my shit here. I have a really good memory, Loco, and so I remember on this show having a debate with you, and it went like this. I think NA are mechanically stronger than EU, and that was your side of the debate.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that Alliance would win Worlds if you coached them.
Alliance is a different breed of. They're different than most EU teams. Wouldn't you agree?
I think Alliance and Fnatic are quite similar. Both just stacked with really good players at almost every position, but both have kind of like streaky decision making and shot calling.
I think PK isn't a player that could be discussed with like Froggen.
Who?
PK and Froggen.
Expeke, okay.
Do you think PK's on the same level as Froggen?
I don't, but I think he's... Well, put it this way, I think Expeke is better than High, and you were just sucking that guy's dick a minute
I could
ago.
just counter this by saying, do you think that Wicked is on the same level as Soaz? They just have different strengths.
Loco, let's use context here. You just said Shifter's really good. Expeke is better than Shifter, mate.
No.
On what basis?
I think Shifter's better. They've never. I don't think they've ever played versus each other.
No, it's not about 1v1. It's about versus the whole world. Shifter dumpsters people in fucking complexity. Expeke plays versus the best mids in the world. In the Western world.
Just watching PK's games lately from All
No,
Stars.
I agree. He's slumping. He hasn't been very good in the last split and a half, I don't think. But I think he's better than... No, he's not. Well, he's not better than Froggen. Who were you saying he's better than?
Shifter. Oh no! I was saying he's worse than Shifter.
I don't think he's worse than Shifter. I think that's a pretty close actually, because one maybe has the form now, but not the experience to prove that he can do it long term. One has the experience to prove he can do it long term, doesn't have the form now. I think it's pretty close.
But on Alliance, I think.
So what's different about Alliance then?
And I'm sorry, Loco. You literally know everybody in the Korean scene. You watch the Korean teams. You cannot possibly say that with me coaching Alliance.
It was a joke. It was definitely
Right.
a joke to it. But
Okay.
there's, I think, like realistically, if Alliance.
No, I'm
like,
doing you a favor, man, because those kind of statements, you and I know that they're like ha funny jokes, and maybe Alliance, like as a Western team, sure, you can give them the best odds, perhaps going into Worlds. I see that as a possibility. I do, but you cannot give the fanboys any toehold, right? You can't do it.
Yeah.
You must not do it. That is the worst.
All right. Like just on a realistic.
You can't allow one
basis,
rat with
on
the
a
virus to
realistic
get into the
basis, on a
city, otherwise
realistic
everyone will be
basis,
fucked.
Fnatic was ranked 4 at Worlds, or tied for third and fourth, however you want to call it. I don't think Alliance was that far off from Fnatic.
Here's the problem with that statement, Loco. I don't think Fnatic was a top 4 team at Worlds.
They placed top 4.
That's irrelevant, dude. It's the bracket. Come on. They played Cloud9 to go top 4. You've been ridiculous. SK Telecom, Najin Sword, Royal Club, OMG.
They did have an easy bracket, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. They won one series over the NA team. Who've never played anyone to get top 4.
Alliance is CLG on crack. They have Froggen, who could potentially
That's a statement right there. Come on.
Oh, that's what I need. I need to just get the players on crack.
Okay, well, we solved it now, Bonnie.
Alliance is CLG, like, exponential. Like, Alliance, Froggen is a player that could potentially be the best Western player ever to play League.
I'm pretty sure he already is, but okay.
Okay. Tabs is a player that could be one of the best ADs from the West.
He's very good, yeah.
Shook is also a player that could be one of the best junglers from the West.
That still has to be proven, but okay.
No, he definitely has the potential to. He's not someone like oh God, I'm gonna burn another bridge here. He's not someone like Crumbs. I don't think Crumbs doesn't have the potential to be like one of the best players to ever play.
Wow, that's a crazy statement right there, man. I don't know how you're gonna hold up with that in the years.
But Shook, no matter how small the
Jesus, man, don't burn too many bridges.
No matter how small the percentage, Shook actually has that potential, and it can be possible.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
Dude, that's why I was joking. I think even Crumbs, if we called him up now, like, Crumbs, do you have the potential to be one of the greatest players of all time? He'd be like, yeah, probably not. I'm probably about as good as I'm going to be now.
But Shook is someone that, in a year from now, we could be talking about like how Shook fucking like carried Alliance to
Here's
like
the thing.
top 4 of.
From everything I've heard, I agree with your statement. As in, he does seem to be very good in like his potential outside of performing in big games seems to be very high. My problem is sports and esports are littered with great talents who were amazing in practice, and in the meaningless games of the regular season, they were the fucking best ever, and then in the playoffs, they just couldn't do it. And until the guy proves, like in sports, that he can do that, you can never fully give that guy credit, because otherwise every season you'll be saying the same thing. Great regular season, his numbers are excellent.
Well, no, but you can say these players are the players you want to look out for.
No, I agree, yeah, that's right. The potential is real, Loco. The potential is real.
Deft is actually a really fucking good example of that. Deft has been regarded as one of the best ADs in Korea forever, just in scrims, and like then he started showing it in solo queue by getting top 1, rank 1, and then he got a fucking rank 1 and a rank 5, and then he got a rank 1 and a rank 2, 1 and 2 spot on his main and support in Korean solo queue.
Loco, that's a very deft example you gave there. Anyway, whatever. I'm better than Freak. Let's go into this.
And I'm just saying, like, someone like Deft that's always been good in just practice, like, he really showed up this season, and same for, maybe it happened to Shook this season.
So here's my question, Loco. Even though you've now backed off that statement like a motherfucker, like, I was just joking then. These are jokes. Just harmless banter. I didn't really mean Alliance would win if I was their coach. I think part of you really believed that. I think I think that slipped out there, Loco. You maybe misphrased it. You meant to say something else. I think there's a part of you that was like, oh God, now I have to justify that in the real world.
I'm not going to talk about it on stream, but they would need 2 crucial roster changes.
Oh, is that all they need? They just need 40% of the team to change, and you be the coach, and then they'll win Worlds.
No, but with 2 crucial roster changes,
if it's that easy, then yeah.
And a real coaching staff, I think they might have the best chance out of any Western
So Froggen right now, right, he's got a little notepad, his shopping list. It says shot caller, Locodoco coach, 2 new players equals season 4 world champion.
Yeah, it's got to happen soon, right? They don't have a lot of time to make these changes to implement them.
But I've got a question for you,
started,
Loco. We
the
just
clock
talked.
is ticking.
We just talked
We've got
today.
like 3 months.
The strongest teams in Korea: Ozone, Blue, Shield, SK Telecom. Alliance would beat 0 of these teams.
Actually, I thought the same way about fucking Gambit and Ozone before Worlds.
Okay, so you're banking on one team hitting a ridiculous slump and...
No, like before Worlds, if you told me Ozone is not going to make it up groups, I would...
Well, anybody, right? Okay, one team slumps. What are the odds that 3 or 4 Korean teams at Worlds all managed to hit a slump?
There's very low odds, but what are the odds that one team slumps and the other teams all end up in the same bracket for round of 8?
Okay, you have an outside chance at it, Loco, but I don't think that's what you meant.
It's a possibility. It's a realistic possibility.
Okay, here you go. I'll give you a crazy statement then. I actually agree on the sense that I think I think whoever the best European team is, they will make the semi-final, but I don't think they'll go any further. I think that's it.
Yep.
I think that's a decent bet, actually.
It could be again.
But I don't think deep down...
Two Korean teams in semis playing each other, a European team and a Chinese team, or a European team and an NA team, and that European team beats it and they make finals.
What I've realised now is, you know what I want to believe, Monty? Loco really does believe. He's like just hoping on a dream. He's living on a prayer.
The dream,
that's
the
Loco.
Provo dream. No,
Yeah.
but you want to dream and you want to believe, or how else do you fucking push yourself to, and how else do you motivate a team?
Is that how you coached Alliance? You were like,
What?
guys... Whoa, we're
Any team I
halfway
coach,
there.
I work
2
with,
roster changes.
I've always
Living on
worked
a
with
prayer.
them to win worlds. That's the ultimate goal for any LCS or any Korean or any kind of player. You want to win worlds. That is the end game goal. And if you really don't believe from the bottom of your heart, like if you don't think there's even the tiniest chance that you could actually make it happen, then you'll never make it.
What I love about this is, in the hypothetical world where you become the coach of Alliance, if any Alliance members watching this, they're like, wait a minute, 2 of us are getting cut? Who is Loco going to cut? Like, fuck, I thought Loco loved me. He told me I was doing really well, I had potential, like... And then they all start looking at each other. Is it you? He said he liked Froggen. He said he liked Tabs. Wait a minute, that's 3 of us left. Oh my god. He like shook as well. Wicked, Nif, get out, man. You gotta get out now. I think we've done process of elimination and figured out who he's gonna cut.
Honestly, I wouldn't cut them. But if they wanted their best chance, and on a realistic, like just realistically, it would be very fucking stupid to cut anyone with a split left to World.
Okay. Right, we've got 10 minutes left before Monty has to do something. So let's take one question from Twitch chat.
Okay.
Just one question only. Try to not be retarded. I know it's how you naturally are. Pretend for a second that you're like a normal human and you were in the shop and there's an old woman behind you and a young man below in front of you. Just try and be calm. Okay, I'll just show you this trick shot. Let's see if it comes out.
Yes,
You're
reaching into
fucking-
the old cesspool.
You stupid, Thorin.
What? Oh yes, you're stupid, Thorin. What are you, 6 and trying to insult somebody?
What I like is
Your
that
mom,
this show
Monkey,
alone,
your mom.
dude, there's never been more insane predictions made on one show of episode we've done ever, Monty. Like at this point, Loco needs like 17 unlikely things to all simultaneously happen. Otherwise, he looks like a total retard. Like, I'll admit, Loco, if you get all of them right, you will be the god of predictions, and we will all bow and call you Lord Loco and all that shit. Because it's never gonna happen, is it? Come on, the parlay is insane on this dude. You're like that guy who bets $1 and you're like, if these 48 NFL games all go my way, I win like $1 million. And you're like, yeah, that bet is made for a reason, dude. Those odds are there for a reason. It's the way I can't even get a question now. It's just message deleted, like just waves of this shit. Let me see. Okay, I've got one that I can ask Loco about. What does Loco think about Vasily? Because we wondered when he was in Challenger, like he's playing bad players anyway. What is Vasily actually like as an AD carry based on what you've seen so far in LCS?
I just want to say I would have to watch him more, but he seems more like a turtle kind of player. He has a tendency to throw. Good mechanically he's a mixture of turtle and double lift.
So you put your top 3 Eddie carries was Sneaky, Double Lift, Wild Turtle. Does he have a chance to get into the top 3?
He might not.
What's great about this is he knows that he wants to say that Wild Turtle's the one who could drop out, but in order for him to drop out, Gleam Gardner would probably have to be shit. Therefore, I'm setting up a counter prediction here where he can only make one that can be right. Have you fallen into my trap, Loco? Which do you want to go for here?
Break top 3, and you are right. If I see someone drop out of top 3, it is probably Turtle. But I don't think like Turtle's gonna drop. Even if Turtle drops, he has the base mechanics to still be like top. Even at his Turtle's worst, he's gonna be the 4th best KAD NA. At his best, he's gonna be best. At his worst, he's gonna be 4th.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot on this show. Wrap it up, yeah? Any final words, Loco?
Wow. Okay, so my predictions are far out there, and you know what? Like the real geniuses of their time never got at their time. You know, people call Da Vinci like stupid. People call fucking Einstein like a crazy bastard. Like I'm just like I'm too far ahead of my time. You guys
what?
remember
And
what I
also,
said on
like,
the show?
Also, like there are a bunch of bums in tinfoil caps saying the world is trying to predict the apocalypse. We don't remember those guys.
I'm not
But
predicting the
remember
apocalypse.
you, Lord Loco.
I've invented electricity, and you're calling me.
Profit.
I've discovered electricity, and you're calling me a fucking like a witch, and you're saying like this is stupid. Like you know what? If people, okay, I gave you the car. I gave you a car, and all you're saying is we want faster horses.
No, what I think, Loco, is you got it wrong there. Okay,
I gave you a car. And
you didn't give us an actual car. You drew 2 circles and a box on top, and you were like, and I was like, and how would it work, Loco? That's your analogy right there. If you'd actually give us a working schematic of how this car would work, we'd be like, carbon combustion engine, yeah, that could work actually.
You want a faster horse? I gave you a car.
Let's just end it on that note, right? End of the show. Goodbye.